they should know that the whole strategy here is that we're gonna get large enough that we're not gonna talk about Final Fantasy
Mm.
11 at all, and it's gonna be
Yeah,
all yap. We'll,
right.
like, say, like, "Oh, hey, what are you guys doing in game?" And we'll be like, "Oh, I'm still doing Limbus." "Oh, cool. So anyway, this week I went to the store and I got yogurt." And, like,
Yeah,
people will still listen. That's the goal.
you're like, "You guys still play this game? I quit ages ago."
Well,
Welcome in everybody to episode 35 of the Blurred Podcast. And we're actually gonna have a podcast today and not just a race to Juno. So maybe it'll
oh, yeah.
be
We could
more
do
game
that
for
too, though, right?
no, we're good. I think instead what we're gonna do is we're gonna read through a couple of emails and talk about a couple of things relating to the game. But before we get into that, guys, how have you been? What's new? What's going on?
The grind for mastery rank never ends, and I'm slowly going insane.
Oh, that
Oh,
reminds
you're
me.
still going hard, yeah.
Aiden got mastery rank 9.
Congrats to you.
And so we're gonna have to bring Aiden on as our professional mastery rank
Oh,
consultant
nice.
for mastery rank episode. So congratulations, shout out to Aiden. It's
I
kind of
mean,
like the
we should do that, and then, like, every time Dex starts to, like, mention something about, we're like, "Oh, hold on. Let's see what
let's call
Aiden has to say."
Aiden.
Only because I have more done than Aiden in every category except monstrosity.
And the shield. I think it's the shield. You
That's
guys keep
true.
saying monstrosity, but I think it's the escutcheon that really did it. Because that's
There
a
are people
lot
who
of
have
fucking
gotten
work.
9 without the escutcheon, though.
Mm.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm still convinced that the whole monstrosity thing is like a scam. That like all of you master rank hunters are like, oh yeah, you need to do monstrosity to get mastery rank, and then they have like there's a big Discord chat that's like rank 9 havers, and they're just like, we got another one. Look, he's doing monstrosity on stream right
Look
now.
at this idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, I believe it. Absolutely. But when Aiden was on, I said that I hope Aiden gets it before Dex. Most and we thought the real thing was gonna be Dex taking his cruise and letting his chocobo die,
Oh yeah,
but he
that's right.
didn't, and he kept his chocobo alive the entire time he was on the cruise.
Hell yeah.
So that proved me wrong, and I'm just glad to be vindicated in the end.
Hmm.
I did
So
the work, man.
I'm sure you can't be very far off of mastering.
I'm 1/6 done with monstrosity.
1/6 done. But how close are you to the escutcheon?
I haven't started an escutcheon.
Well, you better
Yeah.
then, because I'm telling
No,
you.
I'm
you-
doing all the guilds first. There's a reason I haven't started the escutcheon.
Dang. So you're doing all the guilds because you want the titles. But
Yes, titles and key items.
do you think you have to have that to get mastery rank 10? Like they can't lock an escutcheon user out of mastery rank 10 for not having that, right?
You can change guilds and get the titles and stuff after getting an escutcheon or before, but not while working on one. That's why.
Oh. Oh, okay. So you have to do all
So
of
if I
that.
were to
Okay,
start
yeah, that makes
now,
sense.
it's gonna be like a multi-long month process to
Mm.
make the
Right,
escutcheon,
right.
and that prevents me from working on the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, they are pretty terrible to make. Some people say
Yeah.
that they're not that bad. Having myself almost finished one and then quitting at 82% of the way done with the final stage.
I didn't know you
Um,
quit.
well, I mean, I took a break because I was like, this is getting fucking obnoxious. I need to stop doing this a little bit, and I have not gone back. So essentially,
I don't have the
Yeah,
money, so I would have to do it all
Oh
manual, which
yeah.
is miserable.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
pretty awful. I mean, I did the same. Like I powered through Bonecraft to 110. I started it, and I got halfway through stage 1, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't like this. And I have not gone back. It's been 6 months now almost.
I sold my Kraken Club and I was like, you know what, dude? I'm just gonna pour it into an escutcheon. I'll make all that money back. Who cares? I'll just grab a new one once I have the shield done. And my shield is not done.
Hell yeah.
But now Kraken Club prices are dropping, and I'm telling you, I'm telling you right now, they're gonna keep
Oh,
dropping.
nice.
Invest in other things. Let the Kraken clubs drop, and buy them up when they're like 300 mil, because I think that's what they
It's not going that low. I think you're
probably
crazy.
not. Probably not. But I would like them to. So
I don't know, with all the surge in new players and stuff, to segue into our topic for the day, surge in new players, like maybe there's a lot of people who are like, "Oh, this is my get rich quick." There's a whole bunch of people going and doing up in arms. There's going to be a flood of Kraken clubs, and they price drop.
yeah, I saw Kraken club
Or
posted on Reddit today, or YouTube today.
did
Or
you see
yesterday.
the Reddit thread where the guy posted in reply, but he made his own thread? That was pretty
No,
funny too.
I did not.
It was just an entirely new thread. It's like, oh man, congrats. I don't know what I would do if I got a Kraken club. And that was the title of the post. And it was
That's funny. All right, guys, let's go ahead and dive into our first email. We
yeah.
have one from Alea on Azura. Shout out to Alea. They are in my link shell, actually.
Oh,
And they're asking, I was wondering if you had all of the off the beaten path tips for different bosses in the game. One I found out recently was Ice Threnody helps land Distract 3 on Tribulex, and later turned to Frazzle 3 and then Distract 3, or also Tribulex using Hotshot for huge damage and weapon skill variety. I'm sure a lot of new players know these. I'm wondering if you guys have any that you can think of that a lot of players don't know. Love the show. Bonus question: Italian versus Mexican food. I think the real important
ooh.
question here is the Italian versus Mexican.
Yeah.
And
Let's
if I had to
ignore the
pick
first part of the
one,
question.
yeah.
If we actually, can we cancel the podcast episode and just talk about Italian
We
food and
just talk
Mexican
about
food?
food.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but I love eating.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dex,
I'm a big
Italian
fan of eating
food,
myself.
Mexican food.
about Mexican food?
Yeah. Which one? Italian food or Mexican food? What's your preference?
Probably definitely Mexican over Italian.
Wow.
Really?
Really? Okay. Hegma
What are you
rebuttal?
guys, pasta heads?
I mean,
Of
look, I mean, Italian food, like, look, there's a huge spectrum of things in Italian food as a category. I mean, if we're gonna go generalize, you got what, like lasagna, you've got pizza, you've got chicken parmesan, you've got chicken parmesan pizza, which is like,
I don't know. It's really hard to decide.
I think I'm going Italian.
wow. Wow. I think okay, I think in general, if I'm thinking lazy food, I want Italian. But I think, hear me out, I think Mexican food has the higher ceiling. I think Mexican food has more potential overall
Really? Okay.
unless you start getting into the seafood.
The problem
Unless
with
you
Yeah.
it,
start getting
right,
into the
is
seafood of Italian food.
Italian food has really like solid across the board like representation, whereas Mexican food is either like incredibly good or incredibly bad.
Right.
And I think it's fair to say that, like, at least in the Americanized versions, like where what we're familiar with, I probably have a little bit of a bias too because I live closer to Mexico than both of you do. So like what I think of when I think of like Tex-Mex and Mexican food might be different from what you can get. But I think that one thing about like getting tacos, getting any kind of Mexican food is that at least here, like the best places to get it from are the places that you drive by and you're like, good Lord, I would never go in there. Like, it's like they have to like it has to look dingy. It has to look, and then you're getting good food. If you go to a nice Mexican food restaurant, you're like, yeah, it's fine.
Yep.
But it's the opposite with Italian, I feel like.
Yeah. It's like I also am a big fan of like Pacific Islander food. And what I always tell people is like if you want to find a good like island food place, you need to find one where there's two scenarios here. You can either find Big Mongo in the back where he's like 400 pounds and he's back there like singing and cooking his food, or it's grandma in the back. One of the two scenarios, but either way, the thing that won't
Yeah.
change is that once you go inside, you will not be able to breathe because of how smoky it is in there. And
Yeah.
you'll want to like leave immediately, and you'll feel like you're being hotboxed by the
Yeah.
smoke. But those are the kind of food establishments that I
Really?
Yeah. But I don't know. We have a really good Mexican food scene around here, actually.
So
And
basically, you love places that like would not pass a food health safety
I
code.
don't think it's
yeah.
about like is it about food health safety or like you're just like my health is in danger from like an inhaling the smokiness and all the other stuff. It's
All
not
of the
necessarily
above.
as dirty.
I'll take all of it.
Is it
Like it
like
I
doesn't.
think
oh
I
okay.
think like Mexican places and other like uh, what's a good word to put it? Like immigrant places that are like
Whoa,
they
whoa,
Yeah,
well
yeah.
like
What's
that's not a negative, but like someone who's immigrated here and they're like a first generation.
Sure. I
Um,
think
they're they're
I think
starting a business and they have to like cut corners or whatever. But then the food they make is really like top notch because it's from home, right? Like it's true. It's real fucking shit.
mhm.
Whereas Italian places are kind of like I don't want to say franchised or like or like streamlined, but I don't know. They're all kind of the same kind of deal. They look like
Mm.
they're either like this polished fake thing or like they used to be run by a mob.
Mm. I always like get really excited when I want to take my girlfriend out to a really nice Italian place. We pull up to Olive Garden. Um,
Hell yeah.
yeah, but
Nice.
Oh
but
my
I don't know.
god.
I will say that
That's not a real Italian place.
really good spaghetti and meatballs is one of my favorite foods ever. So
Oh,
like
absolutely.
I do
Spaghetti
have
meatballs,
yeah.
chicken parmesan
Wait,
is
Mm.
ooh.
wait. You can't start one, then I'm the you're like,
I'm
we
just
go to
saying.
the Olive Garden, and my favorite thing is really good spaghetti from the Olive Garden.
Not from Olive Garden. I don't want their spaghetti. But like the homemade like gigantic meatballs with like you can taste the
Yeah.
breadcrumbs and the parsley and stuff in
Mhm.
it. Fucking delicious.
Guys, you don't
Absolutely
understand. The
unreal.
Olive Garden, you ask for a Parmesan, and they just keep grating it.
They just
Dude,
keep grading.
last time I went to Olive Garden was like 5 years ago, and, Scoopy and I my wife and I, we're both like we both left and we were like, "That was disgusting."
It is.
Like, we were just
Yeah.
Ow.
we're like, "That let's never do that again."
All right. I think the verdict is both, but
Yeah,
leaning
I think
towards
both foods are
Mexican.
fantastic.
But leaning towards Mexican for the more general, like day-to-day stuff. So I
So
guess we should
anyway,
answer the
the
actual email.
question. Yeah.
What are some of your unique tips and tricks that you guys like
Like
to
little
use?
tips and things.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me that maybe I'm thinking like, what are some mechanics in the game that some like a newer player might not understand? Is that the gist of the question? Like, might not know exists because you never get taught it, and there's
Yeah.
no way that you would know.
Yeah.
Light shot Dia 3.
Mm.
Upgrading your Dias and your bios and stuff with Corsair shots, I think is one that comes to mind.
Yeah. I I think leg sweep is underutilized.
Mm.
For instance, like for this Tonberry ambuscade right now, you can completely bypass the everyone's grudge mechanic and resetting your end or your Tonberry hate and stuff. If you just leg
Oh,
sweep it,
nice.
if you just stun
Just
lock
keep them stun
those.
locked.
Yeah, yeah,
Paladin
Especially in
swap.
ambuscade. Yeah.
Our paladin swaps to Shining One to leg sweep like Gadget in
yeah,
sortie.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like leg sweep is super super strong. Gacha using it on Botulus to just completely
Mhm.
negate the need for or the ability to charm.
It's
Um,
funny, right? Because like at least the way my group runs, everyone's sub Dark Knight and you use stun, but like the leg sweep lasts 3 times as long.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to think
leg
of other
sweep
like
is
fun little
super
tips and
strong.
tricks.
Um, so actually, I just learned one while I was streaming. Somebody gave me this tip the other day. If you are in Limbus and Temenos and you're pulling mobs to the end,
Mhm.
like you can, I'm doing it on my screen right now. If you're pulling mobs to the end and they're casters, if you hook that immediate corner into the room to the exit and you just hide in the corner, because they can't see you, they'll run into the room
Oh, like line
faster.
of sight.
Into the
Yeah,
doorway at least.
yeah, yeah. You put
Yeah,
in,
I've been doing that. I'm surprised you didn't know that.
I didn't know that at all because I never cared to try or
Yeah, I
think
tucked
about it.
myself in that little pocket. The problem is sometimes the melees like climb into that pocket with you and get one of them gets stuck in that little divot and you can't
Mm.
target them.
Yeah, I learned that from Escape. So what I'll do is I'll put it just like you said. They sometimes get stuck, so I'll pull in the corner, and then as soon as I see them all running, I'll just kind of run into the middle of the room a little bit, so they get out of that untargetable spot. Yeah,
There's,
that's
I mean, I think there's also like a lot of like, there's so much knowledge that, I think that it's even hard to think about what it is because it's so second nature to those of us that have been playing this
Yeah,
game for
that
decades.
that's my problem with coming up with any one
Yeah.
given thing. I'm like, I do all this stuff all the time. I don't know what you wouldn't know.
But like, somebody was asking the other day about like, like certain shortcuts, like keyboard shortcuts. And we were talking about that. And it's like, oh, you can like, like if you're using a keyboard, like Alt W, Alt C, what, like how to open up all these menus quickly. And it, if somebody's watching my stream, like people have made fun of me before. It's like, oh, I can't believe you like use the use the menu to weapon skill. I'm like, but it's so easy. It's literally Alt W on my hands there. I just hit
yeah.
Alt W and it's
You
like,
mean
I'll
Control
be honest,
W?
I didn't even know that until you
for
said
me,
it.
it's Alt W.
I'd never used that function before
Yeah,
until you said it. So I mean,
Yeah,
there's
I don't use any of those shortcuts to like get to a inner menu like
that's
immediately.
crazy. That's
But
crazy.
I can see that being very useful. Um I'm curious if people on controller do similar things because that seems like where you'd get your bread and
Mm,
butter.
mm, yeah.
perhaps.
I don't know.
Somebody said, like as a new player tip, the idea of having a bubble, and this is something I remember the first time I leveled Geomancer. I was just putting my bubbles out, having a great time. Like, okay, cool, I'm doing my job. And the party is like, this is back when people would like party up for CP more often, and they were like, hey, you have to tag the mobs, right, in order for your bubble to have an
Yeah,
effect. And I was like,
yeah.
oh, I had no idea.
Very important. Yeah. Make sure you get those bubbles tagged. And there's a way to manipulate your bubbles. So I'm blanking on the actual. I have to look it up.
Oh, to move it
Um,
around faster? There is a
uh,
way, yeah.
yeah, to move it around and like decide exactly where to place them
Oh,
instead
really?
of like casting
Yeah,
them
it's something that
on.
it's not used a lot. Let me see if I can figure it out. One sec.
I'm pretty sure Cloud Chief actually has a video on it. That's where I learned it from originally. Coming back to the game was Cloud Chief videos. So
Hell yeah.
shout out to Cloud Chief. And I gotta give credit to Escape for that little Temenos pulling mechanic because he's the one that told me about that. But cool. If you guys don't have anything else, I think we can go ahead and move on to our next email,
Sure.
which is
Absolutely.
from our next email is from Hikeo. He says, "Hope all is well. My question this week is: Final Fantasy XI's job system can have is if Final Fantasy XI's job system could have 2 to 3 specs that can branch out into their unique playstyle, what job would you choose to be your main, and what would the specs be? I think this would allow some jobs that aren't seen much in Endgame to have content, to have a chance to be reworked, such as Thief, Pup, Ninja, etc. It would be something similar to World of Warcraft's spec system for their classes."
Mm, I see. So,
Uh,
like, if you could be a guardian warrior or a berserker warrior kind of thing.
right. I don't play World of Warcraft, and I think the only game that I played in recent memory that has specs would be like Borderlands. And
Yeah.
since I can't shoot like guns out of guns at people that explode, I don't really have any ideas for this one, to be honest.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, I Blue Mage is already that. It just
Yeah.
over time it's been forced to lean into one thing or the other, but Blue Mage has always been you spec it with the spells and
Yeah.
you can play anything really. Like I've played Blue Mage as a tank in the past and for Bumba. So even in the present, I've played Blue Mage as a mage and as a melee. So
Yeah.
that
I think,
comes
I
to
don't
mind.
know.
Yeah.
If they can
Yeah.
further go down that rabbit hole, that'd be awesome.
I think to a degree, like because of how Final Fantasy 11 is fundamentally exceptionally different than something like World of Warcraft, um, but because of like how buffs work and all this other stuff, you like I play warrior as a tank all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you just you buff yourself defensively, and you might have like slightly different gear sets, or use different buffs and whatnot as you're doing it, and you kind of force a DD into a tank. But I to understanding the spirit of the question, like I think that there's so many jobs that like I would love there to be a warrior, subclass essentially that brings it back to like dual wield being king. Like a berserker dual wield type class. It'd be cool to see like paladin as a we joke about paladin's a healer now, but like as a dedicated healer where paladin would have a full on healing stance in addition to majesty that made it more viable and competitive with white mage or something. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the game kind of already does let you do that to a degree. It just, it's more about distributing your enhancements and your buffs properly.
I actually think the
Imagine a
three
ranger.
jobs that he mentioned, specifically Thief, Ninja, and Pup, I think
Mhm.
all of them could have like cool tanking paths. I
Yeah.
mean, in the past, historically, Ninja was a tank for a very long time. I think it has potential as that still. But I especially think that if Ninja and Puppet Master had better controls over like their end midi mechanics and
Yeah.
the potential as well.
It's been almost a year, right, since we talked about the jobs. I think at some point in the future, I'd love to maybe bring someone else on and kind of go over how we would change jobs if we had a wish
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Are you
'Cause,
saying
I have a lot of ideas for Ninja in particular, and
Are you
no
saying
one.
when I got really, really drunk that one time and me and Hegma rambled for like 4 hours about changing jobs, that
That
wasn't
sounds like
valid?
my favorite kind of podcast.
I think no, I was thinking that Dex was suggesting that now that we're 1 year into Blurred Podcast, we should start repeating the whole schedule.
Oh
That's
yeah, yeah,
not
just do it
exactly what I
all.
was saying.
We've run out of
Back to
ideas,
the
guys. We'll
question.
just
Yeah.
Imagine like a branching paths ranger where one puts down turrets and then one like throws
Mm.
daggers.
Oh, that'd be
I
interesting.
mean,
That sounds like Diablo kind of stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think there's all sorts of cool stuff that you could do, and like, but my honest answer, if I'm gonna be fully honest, is I would hate for them to put any energy into that before they fix the jobs that are currently in their
Yeah,
only spec.
Mm,
100%.
Like
yeah.
yeah,
Like if they in 2028, 2029 actually follow through on the promise to make more content or areas or
yeah,
whatever, and they add a new job, I would be bummed. I'd be like, why haven't you fixed the other jobs?
yeah,
Yeah. That's I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing the new jobs, but at the same time, I get where you guys are coming from. I think that makes
yeah.
sense. Um, but what if they just deleted some of the old ones
Oh, like
Hmm.
instead of fixing them? I was
They're like,
gonna
yeah.
I was
So
gonna name specific ones, but yeah.
in order to fix X job, we're just gonna delete it and we're gonna add a new job that's entirely different.
Mm,
That's
okay.
that's the solution. Yeah.
Perfect. Do we want to go ahead and move into the next one? Dex, do you want to read
Yeah.
our next one from Milo?
Sure. The man that sends every email every week, champion.
And we love it.
hmm
Okay.
Hey guys, it's Milo question time again. He's self-aware. If I'm
Jesus.
allowed to keep asking them for any face.
Of course, you are always allowed to send questions, Milo. Please ignore Dex. Jeez.
Crafting is something I've completely skipped back in the day, and I'm trying to figure out if it's worth getting into now. Two things I'm unclear on. First, are the new crafting shields actually required to attempt the most difficult sense? Or are they more about improving HQ rates and profit margins? Meaning, if you can still at least attempt endgame crafts without them, but you'd be leaving money on the table? Second, are certain crafts noticeably more useful or profitable than others in 2026? Part of what shapes my question is that I've always been on less populated servers, so I used to hate camping the AH or hunting down a crafter for things like HQ jug pets for beasts or automaton parts for pup. But my understanding is a lot of that stuff, as well as food, potions, tools, moghouse upgrade materials, etc., have moved to vendors. So I'm curious whether crafting still has a niche use for someone who knows they won't be up to the task of making a crafting shield. And quick bonus question: has anything in fishing, gardening, and gathering skills, harvesting, excavation, logging, mining, become useful again, or are they still all relics of the past? My love. I mean, right off the rip, like piggybacking off the bonus question, fishing uh very much feeds into cooking. I find that a lot of crafts have like a partner craft
Mm.
that often you need a material or that subcraft for it. So like cooking very often has fish in its ingredients for any synth, and you have to go out and get those fish yourself. Like they're not going to be on the auction house. Um, I remember getting cooking to the upper 100s, and you had to make Emperor roe, so you had to go fish Emperor fish, and then those roe were used in another synth, and then another synth after that, so you could skill up continuously all the way to 110.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we were just talking earlier about making shields and not making shields, and how you guys both kind of like got bored and gave up, but do you feel that crafting is profitable? I mean, there
Oh
is
no.
profit out there. I don't think it's a very profitable game to play unless you're
Yeah.
super dedicated.
You have to be
I think
really, really
like
dedicated. But within
yeah.
your Limbus gear, I think there is a lot of money to be made, especially with how it's are.
Yeah, I think like the new crafts, like the new Limbus gear, hypothetically will get more. You know, like hypothetically, maybe in the next patch there'll be Limbus weapons, which should be another like resurgence to that. But I think that like I always remember I had some friends that I played with years ago when I first came back, and they were like, okay, we're finally gonna do it. We're gonna make shields, and they like all teamed up. And they were each like making different crafting shields, finally finished them all, and then like the first time they were trying to HQ a neck or something, they're like, "Wait, I lost money." You know, like wait, hold on, how do you make this profitable? And like
Yeah.
they ended up doing all the math, and they're like, "Dude, this sucks. It's gonna like the money I put into this, it's gonna take me like 3 years of crafting every day to make the money I made that I put into making the shield back." Um,
I find
so
that
like
the
margins are
crafting
super
shield,
low.
the shield itself is way too expensive or time
Yeah,
consuming, and like you're getting at, you're gonna be in debt by the time you make it.
yeah.
So it's just kind of like fighting to get your money back in the first place, not even remotely in the profit territory.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can make money off of it, but it's a ton of work. The other thing is the mini recipes are locked behind the shield. You
I
literally
was about to say that.
Yeah.
need the key items to even
So every
attempt to
single
make.
Limbus piece of armor
Yeah.
requires a
Right.
shield.
It's not that like you can try the Limbus armor, but you're never gonna HQ it. It's like you literally cannot start the craft
Yeah.
without the
When
shield.
you finish
The
your
dynamis
shield, you get a
weapons are the
key
same.
item. It's like an Aurum tome, and
Yeah.
these synths require that key item to attempt.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of synths that do require it. Um, so partially the answer to your question, Milo, is yes. Um, but then the other half of your question is, or are they just more about improving HQ and profit margins? That's also true.
Hmm.
So I would say if you need to like make yourself medicines or foods or just materials for like quests and day-to-day
Yeah.
stuff, you don't need a shield. You can have your crafts at 70 or one that you chose at 100, and you can get a bunch of stuff that's useful. Um, Most of that stuff doesn't need to be HQ'd anyway to be relevant, right?
Hmm.
So you're just going to be making your own stuff and saving money from the auction house, from
Right. If you need like
often from
cyan
NPC.
orbs and stuff like that, you know, like for yeah, all your reforge, making cyan orbs, making your like giant frozen heads or whatever.
Hmm. But then, like, if you want to make gear that's actually used, that's always a highly
Mhm.
competitive market. Um, and it's almost always desirable for it to be exclusively HQ, right? So those things drive a high price because of how often things break, even with a shield. And there's people out there who have cornered these markets, and you're going to be
Yeah.
fighting with other people, even on lower pop servers. Or maybe the statement is especially on lower pop servers where there's like monopolies that you might
Yeah.
not be aware of.
Yeah. The other thing
Um,
to consider is the shield, the buff that you get from the shield that prevents you or that forces the HQ or breaks it and saves you the mats. You can only get that buff like once or 1 hour a day, if I remember correctly.
yeah.
I don't have a shield right in front.
Mm.
Never completed one, but I'm pretty sure it's 1 hour a day. So if you are afraid of losing the mats, which I would be because they're very, very expensive if you're
Yeah.
trying to make gil, you're limited to that 1 hour a day crafting, basically.
Yeah.
Basically, crafting in a nutshell is an exclusive room at a casino that you have to buy your way into by making the shield. And once you're in the room in the casino, you just get to roll the slots, right?
Mhm.
I think that's a
And
pretty good,
and
And
it's
pretty good
literally
metaphor.
gambling because most of
yeah.
the time, from all the crafters I've spoken with who actually are like invested in it and have shields and whatnot, um, money makes money, right? The rich get richer. They have more resources to throw in to outpace the rate at
Yeah.
which they're gonna fail. Um, but for most people, it's I only have enough money for 10 attempts, and then oh, I hit 3 out of 10. I'm making big money today. Oh, I failed all 10. I'm broke
Yeah.
now.
My favorite is when like in the Discord or something, and it's like a newer returning player is like, "Hey, can anybody help me with a crochet amours? I gathered the materials." And
That's
somebody's
gonna
like,
fail.
yeah, did you gather 15 times of that? Because
Yeah.
it's not going to HQ2, you realize that. And so it's like a little bit of a learning curve. But yeah,
Or
and
get lucky on the first one.
while we're being honest about the monopolies and the mafia vibes of it, I think I didn't want to say anything, but that's why Myth and I both quit. We both were edging into crafting, and we both got the severed head in the box in our real life mailbox. So it was like stop bone crafting or stop. So those monopolies exist.
Said
You
put
don't
the
want
Yeah,
bone down.
to put
yeah,
the bones
definitely.
down.
Somebody in
These will
chat
be
asked
your
if it
bones in the
was
box.
Jesus. Somebody in chat asked if it was a 1 hour cooldown on the shield. And to be honest with you, I don't know because I don't have a shield. So that's the reference. But I know there is a cooldown. Don't get to craft, because you would
I
think
don't want to
after
dissuade
printing a
anyone from
bill.
crafting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a really
It's
arduous
I mean,
journey.
yeah, it's like anything else. It's more becomes more of like a passion project. Like you have to want it for mastery rank, you have to want it for the completion, you have to want it for the clout, more than you want it. You're not going to make money off crafting for a very long time.
Mm, yeah.
I think you can only use it every hour.
Mm.
Okay, so it's somebody said it in chat. It's 30 minutes and the recharge isn't. So that's not as bad, but
Nice.
still like crafting for only 30 minutes in my opinion.
It's just
But
what I've seen people do is they gather a bunch of materials and they're like, I'm going to go ham this half an hour, and they just
yeah,
go
Yeah, they
yeah.
they make sure
afterbird.
it's a new moon or whatever it needs to be, and you're
Right.
facing the
You're
right
facing
cardinal
west. Yeah,
direction.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think all that's been disproven.
It has.
Nah, sure. They came out and said it's not true, but it is. We know
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
I still know people who say it is still true.
Oh man. Of course, some
These
people do.
probably
Like,
probably the people that say it's not true are the same people that say go do monstrosity instead. I'm just saying.
and I'm doing that right now.
Oh no. All right, guys. We have two more emails. Dex, do you want to read the next one, or do you want me to?
From Zeffy?
Yep.
All right, Zeffy says, "Hello, Mythsan, Dexon, and Hegmosan. It's your Japanese fan from the Ass server."
Oh hell yeah! I
First,
love Ketsu. Yeah, yeah.
first off, huge congrats to beating Wing of War. I'm sincerely happy for you, and I'm sad at the same time that I couldn't get in a position to compete for World First. Our group is still chugging along. We lost a bunch of members due to real life stuff and a bit of drama. Vicenarium was not kidding. The Master Trial scene is none of the viewership, but all the drama.
Mm-hmm.
2 members had a falling out, resulting in one of them quitting the game. Jeez. Just to return after changing their name and race, pretending to be a different person.
Oh,
What a
nice.
mess. But it's working out so far. We have since cleared Crystal Paradise with 3 new members and started on Oathsworn Blade. Good luck with August. That's a nightmare. I literally leveled Red Mage for Crystal Paradise basically from scratch, which was daunting because I hadn't played it since the 75 era, but it has been rewarding and fun. Here's my request for a topic. Instead of a weapon tier list, could you talk about what you think the best weapons are for each job? Riga Muri did a similar live stream a while back, and it was very informative as I was a returning player at the time. I'm sure newer players out there want to know your take on how the Rimas stack up against each other. Because we've kind of done isolated tier lists.
Yeah.
I mean, every time we talk about Rimas, we talk about their competition, but not so much like verbatim. All right, so personally, I have been pleasantly surprised by Excalibur for Red Mage. The fusion property is useful in Limbus, where you can go Requiescat, Savage Blade, Knights of Round for double light. It helps break up the monotony of nagling Savage spam. Also, please, please, please unfire or bring back Shiraj for this one. I really miss him.
All right, first of all,
Ironic.
Shiraj is never getting unfired. Let's put this out in the open
After
right
what
now.
happened?
Yeah,
After what happened?
unacceptable. Yeah. I couldn't even imagine bringing him back after the grief thing. No, I'm just kidding.
And
So
legally we can't talk about it, but
Shiraj actually was gonna come on today and discuss this email, Zephy. So I apologize that he didn't make it, but he does have the email and he said he's going to respond to you. So he said he will reach out. In the meantime, you're stuck with us. So you're just gonna have to deal with it. I'm sorry. I think we can do an episode for the weapons, but
like what
as far-
weapons
I
are
don't
best
hate
for
that
each
idea.
job.
Yeah, I
It'd be
think,
cool. Like it'd be a long conversation, but I think
what we could do is split it up into jobs. Like you half the jobs one day, apart to
Yeah.
the other half of the jobs.
or
but
like
I think just-
categories, like do
Yeah.
like melee DPS jobs, caster jobs, support.
Yeah,
Add
stretch
that
it out into
to
4
the
episodes.
job wish list discussion.
Mhm. Yeah, I think
Well,
I think we could do that.
Now that we know
al-
Zephy is
although-
Shiraj's biggest fan.
Yeah.
I mean, me too.
I was-
I'm a big fan of Shiraj, and actually,
Yeah.
not to leak anything, but I do have a video that I'm working with Shiraj, coming out soon. Please look forward to it. But
I will say I think that's a great conversation now. We may also need to wait until potentially August to have any conversation about weapons, because like we don't know what the Limbus weapons are going to be. And I'm still suspicious that we won't see any Limbus weapons in the game until late July or August.
I think we should do it right before then, and then we can.
Oh, so we can redo it?
Yeah,
redo it for double engagement? Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, disregard last episode because now these are out.
I mean, to be fair, we could say that about a lot of the episodes that we've done talking about Limbus
Yeah.
or other speculation, and because most of what we've said has been wrong, as we've seen.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Whoa, no. It's all scientifically proven factual data.
Right.
Well, it's like any other science. It's like, if you're anybody who's into like, fitness or health, it's like every 3 years, like what you should be eating and how you should be exercising rotates. And like, the science just changes. Sure, it's probably a giant scam to rob you as much money as possible. So you're constantly shifting your stuff. But at the
Are you
same
saying that's
time,
what we do as a podcast?
oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Everything evolves, right? We're always evolving, we're always changing, and the podcast is no exception.
I'm also concerned because what Hegmo's saying is my diet of pizza every day is not okay because I've been told it's okay.
Oh.
No, it's fine as long as you occasionally eat some of the cauliflower crust pizza.
Mm.
You'll be fine.
No.
Okay then no worries. Cool. Yeah, I think we could definitely talk about Zephy's topic on another day. I am very glad to hear that you are plugging along on the Master Trials. Congrats on Crystal Paradise. That's
Yeah,
not an easy
that's
one.
huge.
So
Crystal
good
Paradise
job.
is really fun. I'm glad that you guys beat
Mhm.
that one. I wish you luck. August is not fun.
Do you have any advice for
August
them
is
for
arguably the
August?
hardest fight in the game.
I don't know if they're asking for advice, but do you have any unsolicited advice for Zephy on August 6?
Here's my unsolicited advice for August. Please don't cheat like the 5 groups that have beaten it since Taraj.
Mm. Interesting.
It
But
hasn't been beaten legitimately since.
does
And
how
that
much does that matter? I'm kind of
what do you mean
curious.
matter?
Like does how big of a deal is that?
It makes the
Are
fight very easy. It's just a lot harder to it's more time consuming to implement.
Sure. I
I
guess
can go into further detail.
I guess in my head it's like if you beat the encounter regardless of how it was intended to be beat, like how often is content that Square releases beaten the way that they intended to be?
Yeah.
Because
Honestly, part of me is like, I think that part of Master Trials are like exploiting game systems more
yeah,
so than understanding the fight.
Can you
It's like
explain what you mean by that? Because
I
the only thing that applies to what you just said in my mind is the August situation.
yeah. I mean, I don't really know the strategies and I don't do Master Trials, but it's like I think that if there's there was talk at one point about like if somebody disconnected at a certain time and then reconnected and it would like fuck with enmity and whatnot. It's like or like buffing outside of the entry and all this other stuff. Like sure, that's like, if you want to be super strict, but if the game's allowing you to do something, to do a nearly impossible fight, is that part of the content in a
So
way?
in my mind, there's a huge difference between the game allows you to buff in the same zone and then
Mm.
bring the buffs into the arena versus I'm getting abilities from jobs I'm not on.
Mm. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and I'm locking the enemy I'm fighting into a position where he's unable to act, and then I bypass key mechanics of the fight.
Right.
I think those are exploits that, like, if you think of way back in the day with the salvage dupe, they didn't
Yeah.
cheat. They just disbanded their party and they kept
Right.
loot. They triplicated their loot, right?
Mhm.
All those players got banned. I think
Yeah.
I think exploits like that go beyond the reasonable, thought process of okay, this is okay and this is not okay. And if Square Enix were more robust, how they were, I think they would be um, more attuned to these kind of changes or these kind of exploits that are being used. They'd be more aggressive with it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
okay,
It's possible to do the fight without using those mechanics. So I think people should strive to do so.
yeah, I think that's fair. I'll yeah, so
I think it's also miserable unless you're one of these groups that is willing to put in the hours because setting up these exploits takes additional time before each attempt. You end up spending most of your time setting up an attempt versus just doing attempts.
right,
Yeah. And
yeah,
I think that's most like really difficult content where it's like, the planning phase and like the research and whatnot has to be more substantial than the execution. It's just made even more. There's more of a disparity there because of how ridiculous some of the master trial mechanics are.
cool. I think we're
That's
ready
my
for
unsolicited
our
advice
I think we're ready for our last email. You guys are?
from Hobos.
Yes, and I'll read this one. Dex, you read the two long ones, so I'll read the really, really short one. That was my plan
Oh,
all
cool.
along. And Hueva sends us, what's a good headpiece to throw on for those that rely on RSE +1 set pre-artifact pieces? Is everyone running blistering salad now? I don't have any Odyssey gear just yet.
I think a good
So
progression from RSC +1 would be Unity gear.
yeah,
Yeah.
Unity or Ryzen Gema if you
Ambuscade
can
+2.
easily augment it.
So Ambuscade +2 isn't as defensive as RSC +1, but it's more. You could probably like mix and match RSC +1 and Ambuscade +2.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the job ultimately. Like there's, all of those headpieces are going to be different across the different sets. So it's really hard to say like across the board, X is the best option. But I don't know. I think that, well, it's worth considering that if you get a full RSE set, and I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it's RSE and like an alabaster and a murky, which are technically free if you know how to get the question marks. Um, that's like 45% DT or something like that. So you have a lot of flexibility in what you can put on in your head slot as a fresh character. So if it's like you're able to do, the red mage headpiece might be really good in that scenario, or if you're playing warrior, that ambuscade might be really good. But I don't think there's like a really easy blanket answer to that because there's not many all jobs.
Even at,
Yeah.
max level with all the gear options to you, there is a lot of mix and matching. It's not one set.
Mhm.
Um,
Besieged
but
turbines could be a good option.
true. Do they have DT on them?
I don't think so, but you don't need it.
One of them is like store TP10, so that's
Yeah.
really nice.
You also don't need the haste, so like I don't think one of them has a ton of haste, but um yeah, like if you again like you know the full JS RSE set and that's what you're relying on, and you can make like an alabaster and a murky ring and then an ambuscade cape, like you're done. You don't need more DT. So like just put
And then you can
whatever.
work on
Yeah.
taking some away and adding
Yeah.
some TP gear or weapon skill gear. It's really nice
But
that Square Enix
yeah.
added these RSC +1 sets in because they're basically like my first Naame without
Yeah.
augments.
And I wonder what they're gonna do because it's tied to a limited time event. Are they gonna rotate this event, seasonally? Are they gonna add it? Are they gonna make it, move them to login campaigns? Because I think that it's such a nice bonus, and for it to be a limited time thing that people are, players next month won't be able to get. Um, I wonder what they'll do if they have any plans to introduce them in another system.
Yeah, I really hope they make it essentially permanent, like rotating,
Yeah.
so that there for 2 months you can get the hands and feet. For two
Mm.
months you can
Yeah,
get
that'd be cool.
the body and legs or whatever. Um,
I think the
you can
problem is
tell.
the body needs all three, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you can tell how much I've been paying attention to them because I literally out the system. But I do know that they're good for new players, and that's
Yeah.
basically the extent of my.
They're really good. It's
See.
almost identical to Naame, probably less
Yeah,
defense, but
yeah.
DT, MAB, accuracy, haste, good to go.
Yeah.
So I'll be the
Really
first one to
fantastic.
say, that like new people should get them. Just don't ask me how
Mhm.
to get them because.
I would say if you have
Yeah.
that gear, your next step should probably be those new intermediate ROEs to get yourself the AF
Yeah.
without having
Yeah, I would
to.
honestly start working on Reforged. Like
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that like if you've got a base DT set and all this other stuff, you've got that level of gear done. Like I think people are uncomfortable making the jump into what is considered like group play and end game, but like get into Omen. Like start doing Omen with a link shell. I feel like we say this all the time. Like, don't be afraid of joining a group and start making that progression because that's really the next step.
yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
obviously, like if you have all that DT, you could probably still do a cursed gear like an Adamar,
Mm,
or you could get augmented dark matter stuff from like Rice and Jima, like Herculean or one of those. There's a bunch of options if you want to like branch off from that, early no multi hit, no TP weapon skill type gear that's just DT. But I do think
Mhm.
setting up new players with get your DT capped and then go from there is a really good position to start them at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Cool. All right, fellas. If that's it for the emails, we can go ahead and move into the topic of the day.
And end the podcast. All right, see you
Yeah.
later, guys.
Which I think we're kind of like in roughly into the topic too, which is nice.
Kind of,
Good
yeah.
topical
It had a nice
emails,
kickoff.
guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So today we're going to be discussing the new player experience, and I kind of wanted to start that by doing or by kind of talking about our experience, how it was when we first started picking up the game, how different like just getting simple things done, like getting through play online has changed, downloading the game has changed, how you buy the game has changed.
Hmm.
So like Hegmo and Dex, how was your experience like loading up the game for the first time, getting through play online and downloading
I
24 hours
remember
worth of
the
files?
download was literally a day's commitment.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Download and
like
install. Like we had Dolphin running for hours.
yeah. I mean, it was we're back on dial-up days and stuff like that. I played it for the first time on PlayStation 2 also. So like, like it was a huge moment to get the giant box, and like it has the hard drive, and you have to have the network adapter and all this other stuff to get your PlayStation 2 onto the internet. And then yeah, I in my memory, I think I was playing the same night, but my brother might have started the install like earlier in the day when it like arrived, and
Mm.
then when I got home from school, it was like mostly done because I feel like I remember logging in the same night.
I mean,
Yeah,
it might have been.
I remember having one of those block monitors, the old like, the
Yeah, like
old
huge
tan
CRT.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I think it was like a Dell or something, but it was just super
Mhm.
old, and I remember loading it up and
Like an
being really
iMac.
excited. Yeah, something like that. And I was really excited, and then I got to the download files page, and it was come back in 26 hours.
Yeah. What?
Uh, and now it's nothing like that, right?
Yeah. Well, it's faster. I think that it still takes a little bit of time,
It's
but
cumbersome for a modern game. So
yeah. Well, also, like, at least, especially, they finally fixed the website last month, which was really cool. But like, I'd have people come into Twitch chat, and they,
24 years later,
yeah,
they finally changed the
people
website.
people come into Twitch chat, and they're like, "Hey, is this play online thing legit?" And I'm like, yeah. What do you mean?" They're like, "I don't know. Like it gave me a security warning, and then it's having me download 4 different files to like. I feel like I'm not
Yeah,
doing the right thing. Like this is." And I'm like, "No, that's real. That's just
yeah,
Final Fantasy 11." Yeah.
yeah. But can you just download everything through Steam now too, or do you still need to go through the Play Online website
I've
to
heard.
download those?
I don't know exactly how well that works. I've heard there's issues in trying to do that,
Hmm.
Okay.
I know
but
So
that you
I
can
wouldn't know.
you can download it through, like, you can purchase it through Steam, but I think that you end up just doing the same process, like the
mm, yeah,
same thing.
yeah. So probably better to just go through the actual Play Online site,
Yeah, the
right?
direct
Yeah,
source.
that's generally would be my advice, is to go through Play Online versus Steam. But what's crazy to me, thinking about like the when we were all installing it for the first time, outside of the download speed. And I think that like Square Enix accounts weren't that they didn't hadn't implemented the Square Enix account thing with the double account, so it was a little bit less complicated for us actually the first time. But I'm like, man, we figured this out as like teenagers and like you were downloading the game through
Yeah.
your PlayStation, which was using your dial-up connection, which meant you couldn't access the internet on your computer. You know what I mean? So it's like how did we figure this out? It's
Well,
crazy.
to this day, when I look back at the old games I used to play, like on the N64, I'm like, how did I figure
Yeah.
this out as a kid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude. I was 11 years old when I Final
Well,
Fantasy.
to piggyback, 11 years old? That's younger than
Yeah.
me.
Wow.
Yeah.
To
What were you gonna say,
piggyback
Dex?
off
Yeah.
what Hegmo was saying, like even in the early days of the game, this I might be like getting ahead of it, but I printed out everything to look up
Oh
like
yeah.
weird.
That's right.
Oh yeah, dude. Like
There
totally
was a
separate
resource.
topic, but like you guys remember printed MapQuest instructions? Like
Mhm.
Yes.
before going out
Well, I
and
mean,
like
like
digging in.
We would do the same thing with games. You'd print out the
Yeah.
game facts page and
Yeah.
put it in a binder. At least I did. Like
I wasn't that organized,
Darn
but
kids these days got it so good.
oh man, that's a
But I think
fucking
that is
blast from
like,
the past.
there's the play online elements that are still rooted in that older experience where like we did it so long ago and like I've kind of forgotten the complexities of it. But I think that when you think about like a modern gamer, somebody who plays game through Steam right now, like they're used to like purchasing their game in Steam, it downloads in their Steam library, they hit play and they can play the game. Like the idea of like, oh no, you have to go to this website, download these files, it'll patch for a few hours, and then you have to create two different accounts. And it's like it is confusing and convoluted for a new player. But I don't know. It's just like it's a rite of passage in a way.
I honestly think it's might be more difficult for people doing it for the first time today than it was back then.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because
Oh yeah.
we were used to the convoluted bull and
Mhm.
needing to go through dial up or whatever it was to jump through these hoops to do it.
Yeah.
So like I remember it being a pain to install, but at the same time, time moved differently in 2005. So it just is what it
We were,
is, you know.
we were also children and we didn't have responsibilities.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
we were
exactly.
also like natives to that era of technology. Like I remember even before that having to like set up a TCP/IP protocol to play X-Men versus TIE Fighter with my friend on his computer. It's like like we were used to doing weird stuff that like you never touch or
Yeah.
see nowadays.
Yeah, I remember playing music on speakerphone because you couldn't just like send music to people. You know what I mean? Like just weird shit like that. But,
Yeah.
let's see. So if players do make it past the play
The final boss.
online, yeah, which kind of is, um, the new player experience, like the first time logging in, how has that changed since you guys have done it?
Well, now you kind of get thrown a whole bunch of extra quests and records of eminence right off the rip that didn't exist back then.
If I had one complaint about like the new player experience, like first time logging in, I think the game doesn't do a good enough job pointing people to records of evidence.
I agree.
Mm. Well, the
Uh,
game also doesn't really do much. It's kind of awkward now. And like I've talked about this, but, like I'm getting ahead of myself with like how Rhapsodies kind of guides you through the game and stuff. But I feel like there's all this stuff where like you're brand new to the game now and you're thrown into this world. You have to kind of like figure out records of eminence, all this other stuff where you start unlocking your trusts, and it doesn't really directly. I think there's actually some pop-ups now that are like in your chat log that, the recommended quests I noticed coming in on my free login character where it was like, oh, do this now. So it does kind of point you in the direction, but also like it's really this disjointed experience where like every time you zone into your home nation or into Juno, like another mission quest cutscene
But yeah, like a
plays, and you're
cutscene
like,
starts.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you're like,
Like,
you're
what's
like,
going
what is
on?
happening? Yeah.
yeah, and it's for a
Uh,
completely different story.
Welcome to TVR.
Yeah.
Welcome to Rhapsodies. Welcome to a
yeah.
Shantoto Ascension. It's like, what the
Right.
hell?
And like those things made sense to us when they were launched. If you were playing at the time, it was cool because like you've been playing the game for years, and then you knew this big drop happened, and everybody rushed into Port Juno to start the Abyssia quest or whatever. So like it makes sense. But now with it being like every time you zone as a new player, there's like a different mission cutscene, and you have no idea what the chronology is. Should I be starting this now? Should I be focused on this other thing? Yeah, it's a little bit silly still, but they are doing things to like try to improve it, I think.
It's kind of like
But
how we've said to death that there's multiple ways to start your leveling experience.
Mhm.
And I know you recently did a video, Hag, but we've all talked about this,
Yeah,
that you could do the Rhapsodies route where you just rush to endgame, or you could just
yeah,
do the stories and get some cohesiveness and understanding and attachment to the story that the characters are involved in. But to your point, as a fresh brand new character, a lot of it isn't a choice. It starts off and then you kind of have to
yeah.
decide what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's
you're given the intro to Rhapsodies of Vana'diel whether you like it or not. Like, you know, like, and if you're not following a guide or watching somebody's video about it, there's no, you're like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll do this."
And that cutscene is weird, right? Like, Iroha, like, Terminators into the crystal room, and you're like, "What?
Yeah.
Who is that, and what
Yeah.
is happening?"
And what is that crystal? I don't know where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you guys think it would be beneficial for them to like completely overhaul the beginning of the game? Like I know they've
I think
added
so.
these instances, but I think about like other new games when I'm starting like a brand new game, and you know how it's like you log in, your character shows up, there's like a little bit of dialogue, and then all of a sudden you're in the middle of this fight and whatever else is going on,
Mhm.
and you kind of like get the tutorial while you're doing this little fight and stuff like that. Do you think um, Final Fantasy 11 should try to like restructure along those kinds of
I have a really
things?
good
Or
example that
mm,
would be a perfect thing for new players that is in the game right now.
Oh.
So, when we started the game, you know, learning how to get to Juno and all this stuff, there's all this mystery and exploration to it, and that's kinda gone from the game now.
Yeah.
But back then, to get our first chocobo, you had to hear from your friend that you could go talk to this
Yeah.
guy in Juneau, and then you had to go start the quest. You do it, you get your bird, and you can get your license, and yada yada. But now new players can do that like fucking raptor quest and get their mount right away. And in that quest, there's these giant blue beams of light that go through the ceiling
Oh,
of
yeah.
the
Yeah.
points where you gotta go. Why can't they put these giant blue beams of light on the starting NPCs to do the quests that you need to go to?
Yeah.
So, like, you start
Yeah.
off in a town, and a giant beam of light is in the position you need to go.
Yeah. I don't know. Part of me is like, there's something to Final Fantasy 11 where like I don't think that they should do it. Like, I don't think that they should add more like hand holding, and like part of the discovery is the, you know, that experience of like not knowing what to do and like just going out and beating up a rabbit and all this other stuff. But I don't know.
I
I do
think
think it needs to be reworked, but I'm not sure what the solution is.
I agree with you
Yeah.
because I'm a psycho masochist from the old school. But, I think there should be a degree of hand-holding, like, in your first hour or
Mm,
your first
yeah.
4 hours of the game. Not, like, a lot, but then they let go, and then
Yeah.
you're off.
So I was thinking about this recently, actually, and it's like one thing that I realized is that like the game is significantly faster than it used to be, right?
Yeah.
But you know, so like before, previously, there nothing's explained in the beginning of the game. You know, for all of our first experiences, like we went out, we beat up rabbits, we beat up lizards or what worms and stuff like that. We slowly made our way to Volcrum Dunes, and like we were introduced to this idea of a party. And then like that's how you learned what a skill chain was. You know, because somebody like all the learning was social. Right? Where like somebody's like, "Oh, we should do a skill chain." You're like, "I have no idea what that means." And they're like, "Okay, I'm gonna do fast blade. You do burning blade after." And they're like, "Okay, wait, no, you went too fast." And you know, like you have to learn from other players.
But
And
now, you
it
go
was
out in the
forced, but
field and
yeah,
Valnerial does Uriel Blade and everything
yeah,
dies, and
exactly,
you get to level
exactly.
99, and you're like, "What's a skill chain?"
And so like
yeah.
you learn all these systems through this very slow social interaction that was leveling back in the day. And now like you have trusts, you have missions being thrown at you. There that like social learning doesn't happen anymore. And so I do think that they need to do something to adjust it. And it but it would, I think it would require a complete overhaul. One thing that somebody said recently in chat, which I thought was a fantastic idea, is that, or maybe it was on a YouTube comment, they said they should take the initial Rhapsodies out of Rhapsodies of Vana'diel and put them in a starter quest that's unlinked from missions. Like they should be in Records of Eminence. And I think that that's like a like have an introductory Records of Eminence like readjustment, and have it give you the Rhapsodies buffs that you get from going to Norg and whatnot. So
So you
you're
tick it
not
off,
like
and then you can
yeah,
start pushing
yeah.
into it. Okay. I'm
Hmm,
down with that.
yeah. Okay. Well, what do you guys think about the influx of like new players? It seems like a lot of people are kind of getting into the playing the older games for the nostalgia. And it seems like
Mm.
even some of the people in a younger generation, I've seen some Gen Zers like coming into the Reddit and posting
Well, obviously,
about like
we
their
love this
experiences.
game. I'm very happy for that. I want to share that with people. I think Square Enix is not doing enough to
Yeah.
capitalize or
No.
to, welcome these people.
Yeah, I think that like it's fantastic to see. Like again, like we've talked about this before where, I think I made the analogy recently where I was just like, we're in imagine all the Final Fantasy 11 players that were actively playing the game for the past few years. This is like a giant retirement home. And like whenever the young people come in and they're like engaging in the retirement home, we're excited. We're like, oh yeah, life is worth living. There's all these cool things that I can still do in my life. It's energizing to us to see new players, and that's why I think Final Fantasy 11 as a community is very welcoming, um, and like wants to help people progress. So I think it's fantastic to see. I think that it's evidence to that there is a marketing issue and there's like a sentiment issue that there's so many people that come in now, even now, that are like, oh, I thought this game was shut down. That's why I never tried it. Like I think that there's a lot of stuff that opportunity still out there, but it's fantastic to see renewed interest.
Yeah.
So you feel as though maybe 5 years ago, the people that started this game for the first time were Final Fantasy enthusiasts who wanted to experience a numbered Final Fantasy for the first
Mm.
time. But now
Right before they
the
shut it
shift
down.
kinda changed where more people are just playing it because it's an MMO that exists.
I think that more people now are aware that it exists because of the 14 raid series collaboration, because there's been a lot of news about the game, like, having renewed support and all this other stuff that's come out in the past few months. And I think that like I truly think that there's a large portion of people that are playing now that were like, "Oh, I didn't realize that I could play this game." And I'm looking for something to like fill a void because X game or Y game is less interesting to me right now, and I want to try an MMO that's different. And I think that like there is a like just a publicity lack of publicity to like this is a perfect example that when you talk about the game, it brings players in because they're interested in like this idea that this world still exists.
I could be wrong, but I think Square Enix has never promoted 11.
Very rarely, at least.
So this is a chicken and egg kinda thing, and this is a question to how far you think Square Enix's planning goes or if it's more knee jerk. Like, do you think all the new player changes in this last year have been a lot of newer player focused adjustments? Like the whole trust system is focused on new players, really. The armor, the adjustments to auto ROEs, stuff like that. Do you
Mm,
think that's planned out before these raid series were done? They're like, we're going to get new players, and now we have to make this before that
yeah,
finishes? Or do you think it was in response to the player growth afterwards?
probably a little bit of both.
I think a lot of what we're seeing right now is the Square team going, "Oh shit, we fucked up
So
and we need to
knee-jerk.
fix this," because they just talk about their issue with the Mog Bonanza coupons, how they thought they were gonna get this influx of
Oh yeah.
players and
Mhm.
they were gonna capitalize on that for a little bit, and then they realized that number just didn't go down, and now they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh shit, we gotta start taking advantage of it before it's too late." So
I
to
can vent
me,
for hours as to how little they're capitalizing on players. It's so stupid. Like, we have all these new players from this joint collaboration with 14, and they're barely like they're on the back foot. They
Yeah.
aren't really welcoming people. They're not doing anything to like open up the servers so that people can play with their friends. None of that. And then on top of that, they openly admit in interviews how the Bonanza coupons were this amazing thing that they did not expect that, they thought people would sign in, grab it, and then quit a month later, and then
Mhm.
so many people stayed. That's weird, right? Why are people staying in our game? And then
Yeah.
they don't release it again the next year. It's like you could even if you don't see the same
Yeah.
amount of people coming back, you would see a lot of people come back and then, "Oh, wow, they stayed?" Like, do it again.
Yeah.
There's so many things you could be doing.
On kind of a separate note, some people credit the Blurred Podcast for those Mog Bonanza
Oh,
coming out, actually.
yeah.
If you
That's
look
crazy.
at the history, they actually came out right around the same time.
Mhm.
I do think it's our
And
best performing episode, right? Or at least one of them.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. But
I mean, I think that ultimately I think that's a combination. I think that, they've admitted that they were shocked by the how much player retention they had. So I think that the context of that was like they were asking about the server closures, and they were Fujito was kind of apologizing for how they have not responded to it. And like because their anticipation was that they would get this surge of players uh, with the Mog Bonanza coupon, and then that slowly a lot of those players would fall off because like they got their ticket, they got their item, and they're just going to go back to playing whatever games they were playing before, and they were shocked to find that they had much higher retention to that surge in player base, which I think is like again evidence that there's not much consideration to all the cross promotion that the 14 raid was bringing in, because every time we got a 14 raid we got a surge in players too. And so if you have like this your partner MMO essentially doing a massive feature of your game and you're not anticipating surges in players, that's questionable to me. Like,
Yeah.
just from a marketing professional perspective, like there's no way you guys didn't talk about this. um but at the same time, like we have seen like the Strange Happenings in Vanadil event is a cross promotional event. So they obviously were designing stuff and creating systems. The Archangel sets was a cross promotional thing because that came from what they were featuring in the raid series. So it's like they were thinking about it, but it's almost like they they don't I think that they don't have a big enough team, and there isn't enough thought put into like how do we best capitalize and how do we best like incentivize people to stay, because I don't know, I just think that role isn't being activated in within the team that we have.
Yes. But I do think they're trying maybe I was emphasizing on the back foot, but I do think they're trying.
Yeah. But so I think I do agree with you. Like they are on the back foot. There are some things that they're doing proactively. They're obviously implementing things, but I think that like they're also having to be very reactionary, um, because whatever they didn't expect for whatever reason the amount of interest coming to the game.
There's also things that probably are out of our control or out of their control,
Mm,
right? Like maybe maybe they did perceive these possibilities and their bosses were like, "We can't
yeah,
justify giving you funding, yada yada."
yeah.
Until it actually happened, and then it's like, "Well, sure."
they're like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
we don't
yeah,
know
now
that
you guys
the
are making money again, so I guess we'll help out."
well, I mean, I think, yeah,
We can turn
without
the lights
getting,
on. You can work in the
yeah,
light.
I think that we've like, I don't want to pivot too much into just like the negative perception around what happens, but like I think that there's for the longest time at least been this understanding of like looking at player counts and stuff like this and like, oh, they have to be making a certain amount of money. Now, where's that money going? Like those kind of questions, because it's not necessarily being funneled back into the game. And so like I still have those questions, and I think that Square Enix maybe demands a lot of the profitability that Final Fantasy 11 brings in, and like there's corporate pressures and whatnot to hit certain milestones, and like they're not able to really invest as much as they want to back into the game. But I don't know, like yeah, I
You
don't want to
can
go down like this negative path, but
Yeah.
I think that uh, we're seeing at least some like, to spin it into the positive side. We're at least now seeing there's talk about, expanding the team, hiring writers, making new zones,
Yes. That's extremely hype.
changes to the game coming in the future. And like I think that like we're in a transitionary period where like we haven't seen the effect of the growth because that budget hasn't been able to be utilized until the future.
If anything,
Yeah.
though, to speak to the new player experience, I think there is a lot of content for players in our shoes to dive into, even though a lot of us may not enjoy all of the content. But I would say if they were to take their time and spend the whole year and the only thing we get is those high tiers and every other thing is generated with the aim to improve new player quality, I think that's better for the game overall. When we get new players in at a rate that's steady, then that just tells them that they have more players that they, can justify running the game on, right? And then that can in turn it all feeds itself. It's a cycle. So if they get more people in, then they can justify having a bigger budget for new content or whatever. And then we complain about no content, but then we don't get anything for the new players, so it just feeds
Yeah.
itself.
I'm pretty happy with the amount of content we've been getting. And
Yeah,
if
I agree.
if we keep up at the same rate, I'll be happy.
The amount I'm happy with. There are choices that have been made with content in this last year that I have stipulations with.
Okay, so let's pivot back to the new player experience. And the next little subtopic that we have is
Do you agree though with
starting.
Hegma that basically leveling is not good right now? Like I think uh, how do you balance the speed? Because you level too fast to learn your job now.
I don't have a good solution for that because what are you gonna do? Make the leveling experience longer and then make the players have that much more to do to catch up to other people they want to play with? Like I just
Well, I don't wanna cut off what you were gonna pivot into, but we could talk about how the game is free now up to 75 and you can stay as long as you want.
well,
That's kind of like a good middle ground.
I was going to ask if you think picking a job or a race as a brand new player out the gates has much impact on.
Um, I don't think so. I think first of all, you should pick what you wanna identify with because that's the core part of your character identity. And I know they allowed race change recently, but I don't think many players utilize that, like maybe 20%.
Yeah, I mean most players are pretty connected
Happy.
to their character, I think, especially if you're happy with your choice and if you've been playing it for, however many years,
Yeah,
most people that were not happy with their original choice just made a new character for it. So,
exactly. So
um,
say I wanted to make more money because Limbus crystals, right? Like I don't, I'm just gonna struggle because I'm the race I am. This is the character I play. I identify with the character. So I think people should pick what speaks to them more so than the stats on it or whatever else entails with it, because that's the character they're going to form like a mental bond with or like a nostalgic kind of bond. You
I have
make
been
memories
seeing
of.
like an influx of new players playing Galcos, which is
Good.
a little disappointing.
No,
I
that's a
think
good thing.
I want to like I want to feel like I want to believe. I truly want to believe
It
that
is
it's
from you.
because
Yes.
I've been like pushing out new player content and I've like, been streaming and people like see my stream and they're like, "Oh, you know what? Galkas are cool." I truly want to believe
They're like, let's
that.
give this guy a pity vote. Like, well, we're
Reminds
for
me of that, like
Longhorn.
reminds me of those clips that Hegman plays when he goes on break, and it's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, smelly Galgo."
Yeah.
That one clip.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
mean,
really hope that like the 2026 Vanadil census comes out and Galka have gone from like 10% to 20% of the player base.
I hope
And like
Galka pass Elvin F because Elvin F is horrible.
but yeah, I don't think the races definitely don't matter nearly as much. I remember back in the day being an elf and being told that I just wouldn't be able to play jobs like Black Mage.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
it just
Well, as a
just
Galka
was
too, and like, I remember leveling White Mage and joining a party and people would be like, oh, like they would literally like I remember people literally leaving the party when they realized it was a Galka White Mage. It's like
Specifically back in the day,
yeah.
there at the 75 era, I remember there was this one JP Link shell, and they had this Taru Paladin. Because back in the day, you
Mhm.
pretty much played one job that you played really well, and Link shells funded characters. Like this guy had a Burt gang funded by his
Yeah.
Link shell, and he was a Taru, and it was like super hype. It was like, how are you tanking really well on Taru? You just get shredded
Yeah.
compared to like an Elvin or a Galka.
And this question has come up a lot recently, which is interesting because like I've seen it come up a lot in the past couple weeks where people are like, "Oh, do race stats matter?" And like people going through and like, "Oh, if you were to like min max for different races, these jobs are better for these races and stuff like that." And it's crazy because like I feel like you don't really see that like in World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy 14 where people are like, "Oh, which job should I play as a Rogadin? Which job should I play as an Or?" It's weird that it's still part of the mythos of Final Fantasy 11, that still comes up even with brand new players. Like it's
The
it's
thing
a
about it,
concern people have.
if someone sees stats at all, even if
Mhm.
they're like almost negligible, it
Yeah.
raises the question
Yeah.
and it creates this like discussion, even if
Yeah.
it's irrelevant. Like,
And maybe it comes from like, people who are used to TT tabletop RPGs or something like that. Like play people who play Dungeons and Dragons where that is a consideration. You're like, I'm gonna be a warrior, so I probably shouldn't do this. Um, but
yeah, I
yeah, I don't know.
mean
At the end of the day, what is it?
that's always
Like level
been Final
99?
Fantasy XI's strength and weakness
Mm,
is how
yeah.
much customization that you can have. That's
Mm,
why some jobs have always been preferred over others, and that's why like
yeah.
the myth of races mattering will always persist, is because in a game that has so many weird mechanics like this one does, every little thing is going to be scrutinized. And I genuinely think we've had this conversation a couple times this last week, like on stream and
Yeah.
stuff, but I genuinely think they're going to start moving away from mechanics that work to more or less ostracize certain jobs or classes or
Mm,
damage types. Maybe not entirely, because that's always going to be part of the game. But I think
yeah.
the more new player friendly they make things, I think the more they're going to get away from that type of thing. Like they're going to make more content that's not going to resist blunt damage or stuff like that.
Yeah. Which is like such a big part of Odyssey and whatnot.
Right.
And we
Right.
don't really see it in Sortie even.
Yeah.
Like
Not at all.
um
I would say also in the older days, the races mattered more because
yeah.
everything was built upon small increments in stats. So back in the day, at 75, if you got something that gave 3 decks, it was incredible. And nowadays, you can get 50 decks in one spot, and it's like, it's whatever. I'm
Yeah.
getting 70
Well, I
accuracy
mean,
for this thing.
yeah. I think when you look at that's what my question was going to be is like when you look at back in the day, like you said, like you're in level 20 and you've got 2 rings that have 2 dexterity on them each. And that was like, holy crap, I've got 4 extra dexterity. So being like a Mithra that has naturally a few more dexterity also made a difference. But
Yeah.
when you look at it in endgame now, where like right now I have like close to 500 strength. So at level 99, what's the largest stat spread is like 10 difference between something. I don't even know what it is. But even if it's 10, you say a Elvon has 10 more strength at level 99 than a Taru.
What job? Warrior?
A
Monk?
warrior. Just say warrior,
Okay, show it right now. I'll let you know.
Um I'm on Beastmaster right now.
'Kay.
I'm on Beast. And so it's like
What's up?
you're talking about I'm Beast Sub Ninja. Um So you're talking about a difference of 10 maybe, and it's like when you have 5, you're talking about like a 0.005% difference in overall stats. It's fairly negligible. Or
When
I
we
guess
have
it'd be like a
145,
0.2%.
so back in the day, the base stats were probably like 60, 70,
Mm,
but
Right.
then what you got from gear was like 20. So the
yeah.
stats you got from the gear were less relevant to what your character put out because the character itself was more of the stat stick. Now, the stats you get from the gear are equal or up to double of what your base stats are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
your
mean,
character
sometimes
is
even
much less
more. Yeah.
relevant. So on Beast Nin on Elven, I have 145 strength.
I have
It's
140,
not relevant because
but
master
I'm on.
levels
Yeah.
are different.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Is that reflected in your
Master levels
plus,
don't
your
change.
modified?
Master levels do not change your attributes.
They don't?
No.
Or is it just accuracy and attack?
Skill, HP, MP.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it's
n-
very negligible is the point. It's like
Yeah.
5 apart in any one way.
so next question: does the starting city matter?
Mm,
You should start in
yes.
Winders because it's the best city.
Somebody asked me, is Winders really that? Somebody came into my chat and they're like, is Winders really that bad? And I was like,
No,
I mean, no, it's like a little bit more spread out, but I
stop
think
it.
like, I think that
Propaganda.
again, like nowadays, like with all the ease of teleportation between all the different home points and survival guides and everything else, like you'll hardly notice. Plus, movement speed is faster than it used to be as a default.
Travel is just overall much more seamless than what it was
Yeah.
back in the day. So no matter where you go, you're gonna navigate just fine.
Do you think that any one nation has a smoother mission progression than
Ooh.
others?
I think Bastok is the mission progression.
I have heard that
personally.
Bastok is the easiest mission storyline, but
Yeah.
most people get to Shadowlord and then put that on the back burner for later. That's kind of how it's designed to be done. I feel like Shadowlord, all 3 nations, like, funnel to Shadowlord, which is, I think, rank 6,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
I would say anything after rank 6 for each nation is kind of like the epilogue story.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, because like rank 6 is the original, like that's the original story for the game, and I think that like when you go 7, 8, 9 up to 10, it's like you're getting into a nation specific narrative that's just lore building for
Yeah.
your region. Yeah.
But, I do remember Wendy having a more obnoxious story, and I do think no matter which nation you choose, you're probably gonna have not any issues whatsoever as long as you utilize trust and whatnot. I do
I would
think a
say
lot of
like,
players don't utilize trust, though, as new
yeah.
players.
You think so? They
I
don't like
think
figure
I've
it
seen
out
a lot
until
of
later.
people just running around
Oh,
doing their own thing,
nice.
and I don't know if that's intentional or not.
Hmm.
Like, they're like, "I wanna experience it this way,"
Oh
or
yeah,
they
yeah.
don't know.
I want the raw experience with no cheater trusts. No,
That could
Yeah.
damn,
I'm
I
sure
don't
there's
need
a
no
mix of both.
robots. I
I
don't need no
mean,
robots moving my.
I mean, if you guys want a longer leveling experience, I think that's. I mean, ultimately, it's still going to be a much quicker than it was
Mhm.
for us in the 75
The
era.
EXP you
But I
get at
think
base is so much higher.
it is. But I think that's a good enough compromise that it'll slow you down enough that you'll probably learn how to play the job and you'll probably have a little bit more
Yeah.
respect. Like stuff's not just going to get evaporated by the liner roll. But you'll still be out there like getting decent progression relatively quick without trusts. So I mean, it's to me it's completely optional what power through on as fast
Yeah.
as you can.
I think ultimately it's preference. Like some people do truly are motivated to like get up to max level, start getting in the end game, that and they could care less about the story. You know what I mean? Um, and like, those same people will probably research how to play the job. They'll look up myths guides on YouTube. They'll like do some external research, and they don't necessarily need the game to tell them how. But I think that there is a large number of players that aren't motivated to that or don't have that, interest.
So here's the question. As somebody who does not play other MMOs, Sigmo, how
Mhm.
does 11's leveling experience compare to like WoW's or something? Because I know,
Mm.
let's say 14 is all story progression, right?
Yeah.
It's like almost the inverse of 11. So how does it compare to or other games that are not quite the
So
same family?
there's like two different things that like two different approaches. Like 14 is very linear in how it forces you to, right? If you're a new player in 14, you either have to buy a skip to get to the end, which is another debate to have, but that, or you have to literally go through in order every mission. So it's like, imagine you started playing 11 and it's like, no, you have to go through your nation missions from 1 to 10, and then you can unlock the Zillart missions, and you go through those all the way to the end, and then you unlock Prometheus. It's like, it's very linear, and it forces you to go through it. Um, World of Warcraft does it differently in that, like, they've been around for as long as 11 has been, and they've made their new player experience. They basically cut out the middle. So like you're only forced to go through the current expansion and the most recent, like the one before it. I think Dragonflight's like the kind of default mission chain that you have to go through perhaps, but uh it's really just like the most recent expansion, and then everything else is optional. Like you could basically start up on a World of Warcraft character and never do 8 of the expansions that have come out. Because there's no reward for them. It's just a choice of what flavor you want your leveling experience to be.
Huh.
Hmm. See, that sounds great. I
Yeah.
I kind of like that the flexibility of that.
Yeah.
And I kind of
In 14,
wish
do you party anymore at all to level?
In
I've
14, do you
done
party to level?
I've done like the party finder for a couple of the dungeons as I was
Yeah.
But
leveling up and
that's
stuff. But
that's
not
like
There
dungeon stuff.
yeah, there's
I guess,
there's
yeah.
no overworld partying really in 14. You don't like team up and go out to a camp and kill
In
mobs.
1.0 there was.
Yeah.
That's why I
Since 2.0, I think that's mostly gone away. You basically go
yeah.
through the missions, the quest line, and it kind of guides you through. It gives you a ton of EXP to level up, and then you'll also be unlocking dungeons and
I'm
stuff
pretty
like that, which will be
sure
your large leveling experience.
I'm pretty sure the memory I have of leveling was in Karthus
Hmm.
in parties. But you'd also obviously you team up in dungeons and stuff. They had
Yeah.
like a dungeon finder. But there was also other areas you would team up and level as a party, like 11 style. And I think
Mm.
that's when 1.0 was very much a hybrid of 11 and
Yeah.
WoW. It's interesting that it's been driven out mostly for story progression. Just do stories, get EXP, and then do some dungeons in Duty Finder, and then what are they called? Fates.
Yeah. Overworld kind of quests that are repeatable.
So that's like
Yeah.
90% of it. There's no supplementary like running out in
Mhm.
the field and just punching stuff yourself.
Yeah. But and so like 11's in this weird spot where it's like, I guess every MMO has its own approach to it, but 11 kind of forces you to do it. Like it wants you to do everything because you get EXP and CP bonuses for the completion. There's significant quest rewards. Like you do want to go through and experience the entire thing, but they don't enforce any kind of order. You can literally just do it in any kind of rhyme or reason, as long as you're following each encapsulated thing in its mission order, like unlocking them. But you can go like you can finish Treasures of Otter Gone before you've ever done Rise of the Zillart for the most part.
While I would
Yeah.
prefer there be a structured order, like you don't unlock one access until you've done one.
Mm,
I don't think that mentality suits every player, so I'm kind of happy they have it the
yeah.
way it is.
Yeah.
I,
I
I
don't know.
almost
I'm
wish that
torn
there
on
was
that.
like if it were me, if they called me up, Square Enix calls me up tomorrow and they're like, "Hey, Hegma, we've been listening to your opinions on stream and the podcast. You're right about everything. We want you to be the producer for Final Fantasy 11." I would
Shut it
probably
down.
I would probably shut the whole thing down. No, I would probably recommend that they implement like 2 new player experiences where like when you create your character, you pick option A or option B. And it's like, I want to, and maybe make it easy to switch if you change your mind, but like have it be like, I want to uh, scale through character progression and get to level 99 quickly and play with my friends. And that gives you the Rhapsodies of Deal experience. And then maybe there's an option that's like, I'm interested in the lore and the story of Final Fantasy 11. I want a classic experience, and maybe that shuffles you into like a even stricter thing where it's like, okay, so you can't start you can't start expansions at any time. You have to go through them and unlock them kind of one at a time. I don't know. That's probably what I would recommend. Something
Here's a
like that
thought,
where it's
and it might be dumb. Um, it's been over a decade since Rhapsodies now.
yeah,
Instead of and the reward structure for Rhapsodies was loaded in such a way where Rhapsodies was the final experience of the game at the time, and also it was the culmination of everything that came before it, and now it's neither.
yeah.
So why not just take some of the key items that are baked into the Rhapsodies storyline and distribute them among the other storylines?
Yeah. No, I think that would be I would think that would be really smart.
So then you're not baking it all into just rushing into Rhapsodies, but I'm not saying finish every storyline, but you
Yeah.
earn X key item at certain point in one story, and it
Yeah.
kind of like teases everybody to go into each one a little bit more.
Or
Want to
if
go
there
into the
was
boost
what they
or
should
whatever it is.
do, they need to well, here's my new idea. They need to make it a like an achievement system where like you
They
get
desperately need that.
instead of it being like, oh, finish Zillart to get Rhapsody in White or whatever, every time you hit a mission milestone across all of it, it gives you like a point. And like, so if you start on COP and you get to a certain point, you unlock a point, which gives you the next Rhapsody. And then if you progress Zillart, like you get another point. And so it's kind of like mix and match in that way. It could be cool.
So are you
Um,
saying the point would be to unlock so you can get points and you choose which Rhapsody or which key item you want to unlock? Or are you
I think you
saying
still unlock them in
run
order. You'd
fractions of it?
still unlock stuff in order, but it would kind of decouple it from Rhapsody specifically and let you like
Yeah.
go through full mission chains to progress in whatever order you wanted.
I think
Um,
we're on the same mentality, just
yeah, yeah,
how it's
yeah,
implemented.
yeah,
I do decoupling it is very much so where I would like to see the new player experience be changed.
yeah. Somebody said there was a Reddit post recently, today or yesterday, with somebody trying Final Fantasy 11 for the first time, and they were saying it was really lonely. And when they asked for help from people, they would basically just get carried, and they would just watch while a larger player, like a more established player, just cleared some content for them. And I think that's it's a weird, like I can totally commiserate with that. I think that generally, as and I try not to. I try to be helpful to people, but I also feel like we've seen so many people come in and get bored because they got carried through stuff, or they don't see the value in stuff because they just get pulled into a rank 20 boomba and then they're done. Um, it is a weird like balance because I think that we get really excited to help people, but it does kind of remove their experience. It kind of does change their experience in a large way.
So to piggyback off that, I think my brief like month or two that I went in and played on Horizon a little bit, they have a system in there where players who help players with previous BCNMs or level capped fights, there's a point value associated with
Mm.
each piece of content. Some are worth more than others, and you earn this side set of points that you can choose what you spend them on. Like 10,000 of those points is a unique mount, and 1,000 of them is a unique piece of lock style, and 100 of them is a EXP scroll, then you can only get a certain amount of them a week. So
Yeah.
if there were to be a system where if you level sync and level with
Yeah.
people at low level, you earn a unique point, not experience point, because
Yeah.
you've chosen to toggle that on, like how you
Right.
can toggle EXP in merit mode. I can choose helper point mode, and I earn a certain amount of helper points. Every
Yeah.
BCNM you do in helper mode gets you closer to these
Yeah.
systems
And that,
of bonus rewards.
takes you back to 14. Like that's kind of how 14 works, right? Where like you as a level 90 warrior could queue up for a leveling dungeon and you could get put into a level 10 dungeon. You get synced down to their level, but you still gain your rate of experience. So
Yeah,
you still get reasonable rewards. So like I think that, somebody else said level syncing, I'd like being more strict with level sync requirements. I think they've they've loosened a lot of that in recent days where like they've made it easier. There's no level cap on older content. And nowadays it's just like you end up getting carried through or you don't really get the original fight experience on a lot of that stuff. I can totally see that. But
that's why I
I think
think
if like
an emphasis on level syncing is
yeah.
important, because people getting carried is just like, I'm level 99 and I
Mhm.
cleave things. But
Yeah.
if you were to be brought down to other players and forced to do things together and work together, it would
What
be a
they
lot more
added that
robust.
to, what was it, Cloud of Darkness? The Cloud of
Yeah,
Darkness fight, they added a exemplar point book, right?
we need more of that.
Um, I think that stuff like that could be really cool, and but lock the reward behind level syncing down to the player that's you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if you're doing like a level 75 cap fight and you go into it level 75, you get an exemplar point book for helping somebody. That I think that could be a cool solution. I feel like whatever whatever script or prep Myth has done, we just keep driving off the road. But
No, this is fine. This is fine. I was actually gonna
yeah.
ask. I was actually gonna ask. Like, I feel like trusts are as much of a as
Yeah, I
yeah.
will
other
100%.
players.
Yeah.
But there's a need for them in some way because of,
I agree. I agree. I think nerf trusts is the only answer.
Mm,
Make them
I
terrible.
think
yeah.
trust scale too fast in the beginning and then fall off too quickly at the end. I think there's a
Yeah.
middle ground that can be met where they're
I think
not
this
as
is
broken in the beginning and then they
yeah.
don't die off so quickly at the
Mm.
end.
I honestly think a lot of this, like a lot of what we're talking about with like removing level sync level caps and trust being ridiculously powerful and getting carried through stuff. I think it's the exact same problem as the Mog Bonanza coupon. Like I think that it's just evidence that like they never anticipated to there to be a resurgence in interest in people playing the game. They truly just wanted to remove roadblocks and open it up so that it was easier, you know? And so like I think it just comes back to this idea that they're, the team and even like us to a degree, like I'm shocked sometimes because I'm the type of player that's like, oh, I just want to get to the end fast. And so I think that like it's the same issue where they're surprised that people want to experience a slower or harder version of the game. And yeah, I don't know. I think that maybe their development philosophy was a little bit flawed in terms of what their expectations were for how players would want to enjoy this game 24 years in.
I mean, I can't fault them for that because no one has a crystal ball.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And it is very hard to pivot at this point because what are you going to do? Remove trust? What like
Well,
take the naglings
I
away?
don't
I
think
don't know. Like,
taking things away is ever a good thing.
yeah,
I think our direction that we went where it's like you can give people opportunities and allow them to thrive and capitalize on those
mhm,
opportunities that would be mutually beneficial with new players. I
yeah.
think that's the best opportunity.
I
It
want
reminds me
Vegeta to come
how
in and be like, "You guys abused this, so we're taking your Nagling away."
it was the finger.
Yeah.
Reminds me how it's long forgotten now and utterly useless, but the Gold World Pass was a system where someone was brought into your world, whether they were a friend that you recommended and they plugged in your code before they ever started, or someone that transferred servers.
Mm,
Um, the Gold World Pass was like the player and their pen pal that they brought over earned rewards in tandem that were one was the mentor and one was the student kind of
Mhm.
deal. And the mentor typically got like aesthetic stuff, and the student got like EXP driven or bonuses to boons for leveling.
I actually think the
Um,
Gold Road Pass is super hot right now in like the Reddit Discord and stuff like that. In fact, I think people don't understand that it's not needed at all to join the game, and
Mhm.
they start taking it a little too seriously and get upset when
well, they see
they
like there is a system that has a
right.
reward structure to it, and they're like, I don't want to miss out on rewards if I'm gonna do the thing. But the
Yeah.
rewards behind the Gold World Pass, as it was, are really antiquated,
Yeah.
way too
Well,
long to implement. Like there's like
there is
a
some
one
cool
that's a
stuff,
whole
but
year, right?
yeah. Yeah, they are very long. And I think it was meant to be like your friend. Like
Yes.
it's not meant to be a stranger on a Reddit post and you meet up one time and then you never see each other again.
Well,
Like
what
you're
I'm
supposed
getting
to
at
be
is
like,
they can
yeah.
implement a system like it now, but
Yeah.
that's more modern. They can just take that structure and then scale it down. The person who helps a new player gets this luck style, and this guy gets, something
Mhm.
that really helps him out. And it doesn't have to be complicated.
Igma's like, yeah, this Gold World Pass wasn't meant to be a one night stand, but
Yeah. I that's kind of how it is. And like, I think as a player, like I often will hand out gold award passes to people if they ask. And there's a couple people in chat that have like asked me for a gold award pass and they've actually followed up on it. I think one person I can think of recently was like, "Hey, we're at the 30 days. Do you mind yeah, Biggs right here. He's like, "Hey, we're at 30 days. Can we meet at the NPC again?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, for sure." But I think 99% of the gold award passes I've helped people with never heard from those people ever again. You know
So,
what I
do
mean?
you have
Like,
the airship statue or not, is my question.
do I have the airship statue? I don't think so.
I think that's one of the longest ones.
I think this is a good opportunity to pivot into the next topic, which
Yeah.
is community for new players and how the community has changed over the course of since we started in 75. Because I mean, well, let me ask you guys this first. What was your first link shell like experience like? It's it now.
Strictly a social. I don't think they did any events. Um, it was just people yapping and talking about the game, and some people would ask for help with a
Yeah.
mission, or like, "Hey, I'm doing my artifact," and some people would help, and you'd form bonds and friendships with people just by failing and through adversity.
Yep. I think I actually made my first link shell. It was like my friend that was friends that were playing the game, a few people we had met in game along the way. I think we probably had like 12 members in total, including one guy who like didn't even speak English. I think he was a Japanese player who would like say hello to us every time we logged in, but that's the only communication we could do outside of auto translate. And that was it. It was just like entirely social, just people, maybe we'd team up and like, hey, anybody want to level in Volcrum Dunes? But that was about the extent of it.
My name's Hegmo, and I was so popular, and I'm such a born leader that I became a link show leader at the age of
Well,
50.
I think I've told this on stream, and hopefully this is okay for the podcast. But we, I named it. I was gonna say we to kind of defer responsibility, but it was the Futanari Club. It was the thing, and maybe that's why we had the one Japanese player because he was like, "What the fuck is this? Hell yeah, sign me
No,
up!"
I think he's like, "I'm interested."
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think for me back in the day, link shells were more about grouping up for quests and missions and stuff like
Mm,
that than they
yeah.
were for much else, especially like pre 75. Because I mean, you could not do the stories without other people.
I do believe that,
Yeah.
like, back in the day, I made my own COP static, I made my own
Hmm.
assault static,
Oh
my
yeah.
own
Well,
Nigel
mission
IL-75
statics. That's
static,
right.
but
Yeah.
statics I made, at least half of the people that were in those statics were from a social link shell or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
100%.
like I said, I remember when I got the game and I was like 11, 12 years old, being an obnoxious little brat spamming in link shell for people to help me because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And yeah, like so I'm glad that, that's not the case anymore. But at the same time, like that kind of fundamental helpfulness is not as relevant. In
Yeah.
fact, where I've been seeing it more is just recently I've had quite a few people go to Phoenix, and they've
Yeah.
been telling me that their assist channel over there is essentially one giant link shell, and people are just talking about
Nice.
like random
Oh
stuff and
yeah.
helping each other out, and it's absolutely great. So that's
That's awesome.
is kind of what I've been
Well,
hearing about.
yeah, I think there's an interesting parallel we're talking about with like the hyper carry experience and like what we're used to nowadays. But like that's kind of what how link shells operated before, like where like it was at a much smaller, there was a much smaller gap between new player and end game player. But like that's how we did missions back then. Like I remember going up the castle. You would never do Castle Ostricha or the Shadow Lord fight without a unexperienced player offering to guide you. And like they were basically carrying you through. But now the difference in level is so significant, that it just feels like an instant win versus like something that's relatively quick. But yeah, I mean I never did COP. Like I didn't do COP until, you know, 10 years ago
It's
because
unfortunate to
it
hear
was
that because
intimidating.
it was one of the most rewarding experiences I've had in this game.
Yeah.
I wish I could have shared that.
So I guess the question is, has something else taken the place of that experience for new players now? Because obviously the need for other people and going through those missions lines like COP are it's not there.
I do think like the assist channel was a great idea. I think there should have been um more guidelines or more incentivization to do the right thing. Whereas like I get a gold flag next to my name. I don't know. It doesn't really like push it in the direction of people being actually helpful. It devolves very often on our server at least.
Mm,
But there's link shell concierge, and that's, take it for what it is. There's more opportunity for people to find a place where they can meet friends. So there's
yeah.
that at least.
You
It's
know what I
better
would
than what
love
it
though?
was, just not much better.
Yeah, I would love. I think in this day and age, especially with the resurgence in players we're seeing right now, we desperately need a at least doubling the active link shell player cap up to 128.
Yes.
64 disappears really fast, and I think that like if I could just put my link shell in the concierge and not have to restock 10 pearls every time they
Yeah, that's
disappear,
extremely
that would be
obnoxious.
yeah,
I
yeah,
really hate that. Most of the
yeah,
time, we are not stocked specifically because of that
no,
reason. I'm not going to go to the concierge every other day, a week, or
yeah,
just to fill those. Especially when you can't do it across the cities. You have to go to every single
yeah,
one.
every
It's
individual one.
yeah, it's never gonna happen. Okay. Do you guys think that there's any other way that they could switch up like how people find others in the community? Like
Mm,
it I I think they've talked about the party finder group function before. And
mhm.
what if they really aimed that party finder function specifically towards new people story? The first like level
Dude,
99, something like that.
yeah. I was just thinking about this just earlier in the conversation. I didn't want to derail too much, but I would love if there was a function where like you could do a party finder for individual missions or even leveling ranges, and like you could basically put it up and it would pull in another player that would just level sync to you automatically and be in place of a trust. Like imagine if you're like, "Hey, I'm leveling around level 50 and I would like to fill this with party members instead of trust." And like it would just automatically pull you into their party and even like give you an option to teleport or something. Um that would be awesome. And like if you're doing a certain mission, it would do the same thing. Level sync you down to their level, pull you towards the mission, the burning circle or whatever. Would love
Yeah.
to see something like that. Party finder in that sense. Like, cause I think that's more valuable than like than a sortie party finder. I think like in a lot of ways that creates a much more authentic experience for the leveling journey.
Well, I think those types of endgame activities don't serve well to have filled
Yeah,
with random people,
exactly.
whereas earlier ones definitely do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And at a certain point, you just need other bodies to, do stuff and be there at the fight or whatever, or at doing the story. Um, for that social interaction more than I think is
Mhm.
why people come to MMOs in the first place.
Yeah.
So
And I think that would solve some of the loneliness. Even if it was like, even if one guy, like if if it was just one player, that was actively doing it, and like you could get somebody to come in and be your tank or be your whatever, and it's like pulling from the mentor list or something, and it's somebody that's like, oh hey, like yeah, let me help you out. Let's actually move over to this camp. Like I think that just changes the dynamic. You're not out in the empty wilderness alone. You're adventuring again.
The thing about that is, like, back in the day, in the open wilderness, these zones are very big, but you'd still bump into real people, like, grinding or
Yeah.
doing whatever. That just isn't the case anymore due to a lot of reasons, but
Yeah.
mostly due to the game's age.
Well, I
And
think most of the like a large part of it is because you outscale levels so like areas so fast.
that is
There's
part of it too.
you we used to have to sit in Volcrum Dunes. There'd be 12 parties in there leveling because there'd be 12 parties worth of people that had to be there for 12 hours to get out of it. Like
Mhm.
now you're done, you go through from 10 to 20 in 15 minutes or something.
yeah. So I was actually this is kind of an slightly unrelated topic, but I was having a conversation not too long ago with another Discord, and it wasn't really an argument, but I was kind of heated over the topic, and we were talking about somebody mentioned how come new players don't know how to do like X, and
Mhm.
specifically we were talking about tanking, and I got kind of frustrated because I feel like there is a big problem with the people that have been playing this game for a long time turning new players off. Uh,
Mm.
because let's put it like this. When we started playing the game, we knew nothing about the game. In the
Yeah.
75 era, nobody knew how anything worked. Now, 20 years later, we have all this math going around and we figured out all
Yeah.
these systems and we have you know, endless amounts of add-ons and so much. So I got kind of frustrated because I feel like one of the biggest problems from the perspective of people giving new players advice is when somebody asks a simple question like, "Hey, how do I tank?" instead of, getting normal amounts of information for job abilities and stuff, they get met with
Yeah.
enmity tables and
Yeah.
fucking calculations and just like
And
inundated with
also
just the
like,
crazy
oh,
amounts
well,
of
oh, you want a tank? Okay, so you need 102% spell interruption down. You need a max enemy set, and then you're gonna need a, it's like that's
yeah,
not how you tank. That's that's the
yeah,
specifics of endgame tanking. But the fundamentally I need to know is use an enmity generating ability like provoke. Also know that Sentinel makes a lot of enmity. Like
right.
that's all you need to know at
It's like
that
skill
stage.
sets stacked on top of each other, and they're getting the full thing rather than the basics.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's just one of those things where like we're giving so much information that people are drowning in it.
It's overwhelming.
And it's not only not helping them, it's actively
Yeah.
turning them
Well,
away.
yeah, and I think there's the other problem, the opposite problem, where people are like, somebody's interested in becoming a tank in Final Fantasy 11, and you're met with either the super intricate math of min maxing your enmity and volatile versus cumulative and all this other shit, and then the other person that's like, just get Nagling and spam Savage Blade. It's okay, thanks, never mind.
Yeah, yeah. I think it would be helpful. Have you guys ever like been on a subreddit where they have the flare that's like whether or not they're open to advice
Oh yeah.
or like how much advice they want and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful if we were just more open about being like, "Hey, I need advice on this, but please like keep it topical instead of
Yeah,
going into the fucking weeds on just random things." That's my rant.
for
That's
sure.
that's all I had. Um
But it's
are
relevant though, and definitely a problem.
yeah. Yeah. I think it's just important to be mindful as somebody that's been around for as long as we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
If you came back after, an 8-year break and somebody started telling me that, well, I remember when I came back, somebody told me Paladin was worthless, and I was just like, "Yeah, okay, that's
Mhm.
fine," and I played it anyway.
Yeah.
And but if they, like, had started, telling me, enmity mechanics, I remember getting hit with this
Yeah.
weird information and being like, what the fuck are you talking about? Whatever, I don't care about that." And then going to do
Yeah.
something and being like, maybe he has a point, and then like looping back around to it.
Right.
But I think as people that have been around for a long time, it's important to kind of like slowly bring people in as they're ready for it.
And like, I keep trying to like make these connections between these different things because we do the same thing across the board on everything. It's the same thing as like, hey, I need help with the Shadow Lord, and you come in with all your max gear characters and kill it in one weapon skill volley, and it's like, oh, okay, it's like that was a little too much. There's too much information, too much help. I really wanted somebody to tank it. Like I would like to still do the fight, and so I don't know. I think
Yeah.
that it comes back to this idea of like we don't I think that we have to check as the veteran players, the people that have been around for a while, sometimes like check that level of like, we're eager to help and we want to help you get through it. And to us that means annihilate it for you. Remove the problem, because we've been playing the game for so long, we're just all about min max efficiency and all this other stuff.
I'll say,
Um
I'm guilty of that. Specifically
yeah,
for Rhapsodies and
yeah,
TVR last fights. Because if people are like, "Hey, I really need help getting this," I'll just go like mindlessly.
yeah,
But I feel like it's also entirely possible to be like, "Hey, I want to do this fight," and maybe
yeah.
don't smash it. I mean,
Yeah, I've tried to train myself because I've had friends that have come and played the game and gone through the experience, and everybody has different preferences. But I've started to try to train myself when I start to get excited. Like my friends coming back and they're like, "Oh, I'm thinking about picking up the game again," and I'll ask them first. I'll be like, "Okay, cool. Do you want me to speed run you through and just get you all the best gear, or do you want to slowly work through?" Like, and I think we all need to do that check periodically.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I think we have one more thing to go over before we really start wrapping it up. And we're gonna do just a quick little roundtable.
Mm.
For both of you, what is your biggest annoyance with the way that the system is set up to welcome new players right now? There's like one thing that you wish they would fundamentally change or fix. What do you?
Hmm.
I can go first if you time to think, Dex.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking on it.
I think to me it's that like there's no real considered like new player onboarding experience. Like there's this combination of lack of information and lack of fundamental systems explained, and also just being thrown all these like, oh, do ROE, do trust, do mission, do other mission, do it this mission, do that quest. Like you're shuffled down this line while not being given any of the actual like gameplay mechanics or anything like that. And so I think that that would be my number one pet peeve. The one thing I would say I want to see changed is like a very curated and like considered new player experience revamp.
Absolutely that. I think the biggest problem as a new or returning player is when you've missed so many pieces of content over their lifetime. Like a piece of content lives actively for like 3 to 5 years, and then it becomes kind of outdated or overgrown, and it's still there, but it just doesn't live in like the end game scene or in the
Mm,
in purpose anymore. I think you're exposed to too many things at once, and there's too many options to skip or streamline things without
yeah.
growing to understand them. Like, when I came back to the game, I was very easily overwhelmed with how many options I had, and I didn't know what was the correct thing to do. when I said like holding hands earlier for a new player, I think just like guiding people in the direction of this is what you should be doing next and try it out, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it is a very difficult is a very like very difficult balance to strike because there is like especially even like take away the new player experience at the very bottom with missions and stuff and look at the new player experience hitting 99. Like you hit 99 and suddenly it's like, okay,
The
so
world
I should
opens
do
up in a bad way.
Ambuscade and Omen and Dynamis and I've got to do this Limbus thing and what's Odyssey? You know, like there are 8 or 9 different end game activities that are relevant to what you need to progress. And so like, yeah, it's super overwhelming in that sense. And there's not a lot of guidance on how to slowly progress it.
Yeah. If I were to add one thing, I think it would be a completely optional tutorial mode for
Mm,
the first 30 to 50 levels that
yeah.
just like kind of how Rhapsodies is set up, but make it so that you don't even have to interact with any of the missions. Just
Yeah.
go out there, XP a little bit, get your sub job, go through how to unlock advanced jobs, and that would be the entire thing. And then when
Yeah.
you're ready to do that and you've seen the game a little bit and collected some home points and stuff like that, then
Yeah.
that would be my the okay, you can turn it off and start doing either missions for the store or missions for the nation or Rhapsodies or
Yeah.
whatever.
I think
Actually,
Square Enix would kind of need to assign a hierarchy in order to do that, but
yeah.
it would be good if they did.
Yeah.
Um, World of Warcraft has a system that they implemented a few years ago where basically you kind as it's entirely optional. It's kind of what you're describing, but very condensed. It's like a 1 or 2 hour experience, where you can either start your character in like their starting area. You know, like if you can start your Elvon in Sandoria, or you can go through a new player experience, which is like I can't remember what it's called. Um, but basically, like you go through a tutorial it takes you through the motions of every core aspect of the game. You go in, you learn how to use an ability on a striking dummy, and then the ship crashes and you end up on the island. You have to interact with NPCs to like use items on them to recover them.
Yeah.
Forbidden Reach, yeah. And then like you end up in a dungeon experience and like doing quests and like should they show you what a world quest is and all this other stuff. And I think that, you know, that could be like maybe they bring back Self and R. You know what I mean? Like this idea of this like this hub that's like just set up as a new player onboarding hub where you're
Mhm.
not put into your nation yet and like you go in and it takes you up to level 30 or whatever and by the end you unlock an advanced job whichever direction you want to go. I don't know, that could be a cool option.
Yeah. On a complete side note, apparently I killed too many tonberries and got ones.
You got
You one shot?
For like 4K. I was like, what just hit me?
That happened to me a couple weeks ago too, yeah.
Oh man. Um all right. So our very last segment is what does 11 do better than every other game?
Ooh. You know, as much as I just complained about this in the previous question, but I think honestly it's the horizontal nature of it, where like you have so many different uh pieces of content that are still relevant. You know, 14 World of Warcraft, so many other MMOs, like you're just constantly there's systems that they implemented in previous expansions that are you don't even have to touch anymore. And I think that 11 has done a really good job preserving the relevancy of so many different things that it's worked on because there's like a wide array of options in front of you. It can be really overwhelming and daunting to look at for the first time, but at the same time, like it's awesome that so many things are still you can still do your relic, you can still do your artifact. Mythics are still important, but Empyreans are you know like all this stuff is still relevant without being made obsolete.
Knowledge is really rewarded in this game, unlike other games. Like maybe in other games, knowledge of how a piece of content plays out or needs to be executed is the main thing, but like this game rewards knowledge of every aspect,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
progression of a piece of content versus how to level, how to do
Mhm.
quests, how to do what pieces of content should be done first. There's a hierarchy of needs. I don't know. It's really a much more in-depth experience because nothing falls off the same way other things
Yeah.
would.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's ever quite been a game like 11, and I at this point I don't think there ever will be another
No.
one quite like it. But who knows? Maybe in 2045 they'll come to their senses and make Final Fantasy 21, which is really 11 too. Um,
Dude, that'd be great.
and yeah,
The
What
criticisms I have for
myth?
this game in that they're not like it doesn't it doesn't give enough information to new players. I think that
Mhm.
criticism stems from a modern sensibility.
Yeah.
Um, and I just want to see more growth overall. So I'm willing to change my perception of what makes a game
Mhm.
exciting to try to meet a more broad audience. But at the same time, like the the unknowingness of this game and the depth and
Mhm.
the
Well, I think
scarcity of
yeah.
info
Yeah.
and the having to learn everything and how daunting that is, but the challenge gets rewarded and met.
Yeah.
That is what really makes you fall in love with the game in the first place, right?
Right. I think, like that's 100%. And I think that like as much as modernization helps, that's why people criticize, games like 14 sometimes in the hand holding, right? Because it takes away the mystery of stuff, the
A
not
very
knowing, which
difficult
is
balance to strike.
which is actually the adventure. You know what I mean? Like that, like going through the quest is a story adventure, but the thing that makes you feel lost is feeling lost. And like that actually has some value to it, I think, from just an experience perspective. So yeah, again, like it's a super balance. And I do want to say I want to thank Myth for just saying his closing statement there, because I think it's important to remind people watching the podcast that like we actually do love this game. Like I when Myths was like, there's never going to be a game like it. There hasn't been one. I'm like, oh yeah, wait, he's right, and we actually really like this game. And anything that may come off as us being overly critical or like complaining about stuff a
Comes
lot,
from a place of love.
really just becomes because we're passionate about it. And that it
really
is
it's
a very
because we're
special game.
cynical
Yeah,
assholes. But
yeah. Oh, that's that
yeah,
too.
yeah,
That too. I
yeah,
forgot.
yeah, yeah.
More that than what Hegma just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we obviously we're very enthusiastic about the game, and obviously, if anybody's been listening to us for any period of time, they know how hot and cold we can run on as far as like feeling towards the game. Because there like I don't know, 2 months ago, I wanted to quit and never play again, but I did out of
Mm.
a sense of Stockholm syndrome, and now we've made it through that valley, and
Yeah.
we've hit the next peak where we're like, oh hell yeah, we're getting Limbus weapons, and then
Yeah.
once we see those, we're gonna hate that. So,
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
it's just gonna go back and forth forever, and there's nothing wrong with
Right now, Limbus is great. Check back in 1 month when Limbus sucks, and then
that. And then 2 months after that, we might like it again.
yeah,
Who knows?
We've had this really bizarre like back and forth with Limbus where it's like, new thing coming, I'm so excited. It
yeah,
comes out, it's like, that's not good enough. I still hate it. What the hell? Please fix it. And
Yeah.
then new thing's coming. Oh, they're gonna fix it. They didn't fix it. What the hell?
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I know we've already done our last segment, but I wanted to float my idea for a Limbus weapon.
Ooh, okay,
Oh,
Since
ready?
sure.
since Square hasn't put it out. I already told Dex about this, but so we were talking about the Bard horn or
Yeah,
instrument, because inevitably there's going to be a Bard
or
instrument,
dagger,
and
or dagger. Could be a
or
dagger.
both, or both.
Yeah.
But anyway, my idea for a Bard instrument is to just completely invalidate Dower Dabla. Give Bard
Ooh, I
a
would love that,
super easy just pick up with
dude.
the straight uncursed +2 songs. Um,
Hmm.
reduce the number of rimas a bard needs. That's what we
Yeah.
should do, Square Enix. Reduce the number of rimas a bard needs by one. Just let them pick up a brand new harp or whatever. So
Honestly,
plus,
that would be amazing. That would be
yeah,
fantastic.
I think that's my idea. That's all I have. Other than that, do whatever you want. I don't care.
Dude, what if
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
what I would love is if the Bard instrument, if they do end up doing augment paths, and like path A is a crazy like weapon skill damage harp to finally replace Linos, right? Where you get like a 10% weapon
I've
skill
said that.
damage on the harp set. And then
I've
path
said to
two,
take. Go ahead.
path
Sorry.
path B is +2 songs. So you can instead choose to replace your Dardabla. And then path C is like all songs +4 or whatever. So you can choose to replace Yallerhorn. So it can be a flexible fill spot for whichever instrument you don't want to make.
It's good to
I
me.
hope there's not
I,
path.
I want.
Realistically, I really don't want path.
I just want the 2 additional songs on the bass. That way they can just get a free one.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Dubon like basically is an Ochan. Just fucking throw on the 2 songs. Just completely just remove Imperians from the game. Let's just do that.
Or make Abyssia 2. I still think Abyssia 2 would be
Electric
great.
Boogaloo?
That would be really
Yeah.
fun. I would love an Abyssia too, to be honest with you. Those mechanics were really fun back in the day.
I'm
Now I
telling you,
hate them.
my dream is that they make eye level 119 Abyssia. It's just exactly what Abyssia is now, scaled up to eye level. So you need like an alliance to fight Chloris, but instead of dropping 1 or 2 Chloris buds, it drops 5 to 10.
Perfect.
That would be amazing. And then we have Abyssia Knights for the Link Shell and stuff.
So there
And
are
we just go
currencies
to
in there
cycle.
probably, or other things.
Yeah, maybe you get exemplar points too. That'd be
Yeah,
sweet.
I mean, the biggest, coolest thing about Abyssia back in the day was how fast the enemies respawned and how their levels increased as you fought at a single camp to emphasize EXPing, and how you EXP'd as an alliance rather than a party,
Yeah.
and you had like level 5 people running around opening chests as their job
Dude,
to
what if the
participate.
boxes had like 10,000 exemplar points in them? And so you just have somebody keying boxes for exemplar points. That'd be
So
awesome.
just a naked level, master level 1
Yeah,
job.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
like the old days.
For the level sync and then for
Oh
But in order
no.
to do that,
Yeah.
they'd have to raise the level cap of exemplar to 100 instead of 50.
Yeah.
Imagine
Hell
what
yeah.
kind of hell that would be.
Oh man. Yeah.
You were
You know,
talking about the horn. I was thinking, I've been saying that the Linos should be like, stop having 17 Linoses and just make them
Yeah.
all one. Like make an enormous stat stick, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have any songs or anything potent. It's just a big stat stick.
Quadruple attack 5, store TP 10, weapon skill damage 10, TP bonus instrument.
Yeah, there you go. Make a Koisti Bodar with weapon skill damage and stuff like that. Yeah. That'd be
But
perfectly fine
it's
with
just it's just the Badar, Kois Badar on overlaid on top of a horn.
that.
It's
Just a
just
horn
duct
going
taped
through
on.
it like a fucking
Yeah.
meatball on a stick.
Yeah. Wait, we came full circle to meatballs. This is fantastic. Wait,
We
this is
did.
the
We did.
podcast.
I guess at the end of the day, Italian wins. Sorry guys.
Yep.
Right. That's all I got, guys. Thanks for doing the podcast with me.
Hell yeah.
Yes, sir.
And we will see you all next time.
Yep. We'll see you next week.
Unless we replace Smith next week.
Hopefully.
What drama? There's Myth's gonna have some secret drama cooking. He's been really drama keen recently.
Yeah. Well, ever since you tried to steal my my job selection video, I've been really.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I was thinking about making that video, and you stole it from me because I talked about it on stream, and then lo and behold,
Now we're
next
talking.
day,
Yeah.
Myth
Lo and
suddenly
behold.
like, oh, I had that idea for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, we had 2 episode ideas in this episode from the emails, right? And I think also, when does the update launch for the new what do you call it? Limbus weapons and stuff.
It should be mid-June.
Yeah. Yeah. It
I
should be
think
pretty
like
soon.
if we're smart about it, we could do next episode is what we want, speculation, wish list, etc. Like just taking this really quick horn topic and expanding it across the board. And then
What
the
you don't
very
want to
next
see in Limbus.
episode, we get the patch notes and we talk about what we
And it's
got
just us
wrong,
complaining
doing it.
about how they could possibly make Limbus weapons level 1 lock styles like this, and how we're just pissed.
I figured for the next episode we would make our own skill tree paths for every job, and then talk
Ooh,
about
nice.
Hakeos
Hell yeah.
and
I think that
maybe-
I think we should also each of us should bring a drawing of what we think our Limbus weapon of choice should look like. Oh.
there
Can
you
we
go.
all live while we're talking MS
Yeah.
Paint it?
Yeah. I know I said this last week too. I'm really afraid that we're not going to see Limbus weapons in the game until potentially August.
Yeah,
You think it's gonna take that long?
oh yeah,
No,
absolutely.
I think that the NMs are not gonna. So we're gonna get a patch on June 10th that's gonna implement the files, but it's not gonna spawn the tier 4 NMs. And then on the next set of NMs that spawn at the end of June, we'll get tier 1 through 4. We'll kill those, and then the chests won't upgrade until the end of July. So you won't see the materials dropping until end of July,
Yeah,
and we
that's
won't see
fair.
crafted Limbus weapons until August.
I hope that's not the case though, because of how shitty that'll feel.
Yeah.
So they did the teaser, and in Apollyon, it showed the 5 Archangel costumed
Oh yeah.
mannequins.
hmm
So one would likely assume that it's an arena where you fight all 5 at
So
once.
I think those are new roaming NMs. I think when you go from tier 3 to tier 4, it's going to be a third question mark. And then you also are going to have to kill more roaming NMs. So they have to introduce more roaming NMs.
I think it's just gonna be all 5 at once in the central,
You think so?
like Divine Might style.
Maybe.
And for Temenos, it'll be the same 5 Archangels, but in the light costume that we
Mhm.
have.
Yeah, possibly. My suspicion is that they're going to be like in place of the 22 roaming NMs. You'll get them popping in. You'll have to kill all 5. There's going to be 1 in each of the zones, so it's going to take 2 extra days. And then we have no idea what the NM itself will be. Chaos and Bahamut or something. Who knows?
I'll be honest with you guys, I've completely lost track of this discussion. So. I'm here
Listen,
for it.
guys, I just don't give
Like,
a shit.
no, I'm just I just like I got completely lost in the sauce there. And
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
just speculating what the teaser showing the Archangels meant. Whether
Yeah.
that's
So they
fighting.
released a teaser image when they
Right.
did the
Did
patch
you not see
preview.
that?
Yeah, no, I saw it, and they look
Okay.
like
And
mannequins,
it shows the mannequins wearing the Archangel sets. So it's not the Archangels, it shows mannequins in it. And because they're mannequins, that's why I think they're going to be the roaming NMs that'll spawn after you kill Forerunner Ultima and Forerunner Omega.
right. Wait, you think they're gonna spawn another version of Ultima and Omega after?
No, I
Which
think
is-
that
okay.
the tier
New NMs is
3s,
what he's saying.
the tier 3. So you know how like you have to kill 22 NMs for Ultima and Omega to spawn. You have to kill 5 for the tier 1s. There's like the roaming NMs that come around. Oh, you don't do Limbus NMs. I forgot.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, so there's roaming NMs that spawn, and you have to kill a certain number throughout the week to get the different tiers of NMs in the central node to spawn.
Right.
And you've killed all 22 of the job NMs by the time you've killed Ultima and Omega that exists in the game now. So I think that to get to tier 4, if they're going to add a new level of NMs, they have to put new objectives in. And I think that's what those mannequins are more roaming NMs that spawn that are Archangel based.
That'd be cool. Yeah, actually, I really like that idea. And then they'll spawn a 4th Providence Warfare in them.
Yeah, exactly.
Providence Watcher would be a great choice. I just don't know what you would put in. I think Providence Watcher would be great in Apollyon, not in Temenos.
They should put Absolute Virtue in there.
Ew.
Put Promathia.
Promathia?
Yeah.
Imagine him
Mm,
walking through the doorways, and it's like it's just his feet.
Yeah.
mm, I don't know how I
It's
feel
already
about
bad enough when Ultima runs through those doorways and he's like clipping through the walls.
that. Oh, jeez. All right, guys. Thanks. That's the end of the episode.
Well,
Bye, everybody.
see ya.
Bye.